Father in heaven, we ask for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to have meaningful discussion and work as a united group for our community. And we thank you for your grace and mercy we receive each and every day. In Jesus' name I pray. Please join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We now need a roll call to establish a quorum.
Holder,
Here.
McAdams,
Present.
Perry,
Present.
Wallander.
Here. Next item is approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the next order of business is the swearing in of our new city clerk.
All right, so I'm going to swear you in as a notary since we don't have an outgoing clerk right now. So just repeat after me. I, Terry L. Thornton, do solemnly swear
I, Terry L. Thornton, do solemnly swear
that I possess all qualifications required by law for the offer of city clerk
that I possess all qualifications required by law for the office of city clerk
in the cities of fourth class,
in the cities of fourth class,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Missouri,
the Constitution of the State of Missouri,
the provisions of all laws affecting cities of this class,
the provisions of all laws affecting cities of this class,
and the ordinances of the city of Mountain View, Missouri,
and the ordinances of the city of Mountain View, Missouri,
and faithfully demean myself while in office.
and faithfully demean myself while in office.
Thank you. Okay, now our first order of old business is the hay rebid for the Y Highway property. And we do have one. It's for $15 per ton from Double O Farm. Contact person is Eddie Owens.
I don't know, what did we get last year?
I never saw any when they come in from last year or any bids, so I don't know.
Is this contract finished since he is an employee of the city?
I don't believe so, but don't have any.
He's not taking a role in deciding who gets the bid. If he's the only bid, then there's not really any conflict to be had. It's not like you're picking him over somebody else.
Is there a motion to approve this bid?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Roll call vote.
Coulter. Aye. McAdams.
Aye.
Harry.
Aye.
And Wallinger.
Aye.
Okay, the bid will be awarded to Double O Farm Eddie Owens for $15 per ton. And the next old business is bill number 1428 for ordinance number 1766, the Code of Ethics Policy. If you will read the ordinance, the first reading.
An ordinance amending the city code for the city of Mountain View, Missouri by adding section 24.300, establishing a code of ethics for the Board of Aldermen of the city of Mountain View, Missouri, in order to govern the conduct of council members and other city officials. Whereas it is the responsibility of the city of Mountain View, Missouri to uphold, promote, and demand ethical conduct from its elected and appointed public officials. And whereas the citizens and businesses of the city are entitled to have fair, ethical, and accountable local government. And whereas the Board of Aldermen recognize the importance of making known to the general public the ethical principles that guide the work of the city's public officials. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Aldermen for the city of Mountain View, Missouri, that Chapter 24 of the City Code of Ordinances be amended to add the following section. Chapter 24, Board of Aldermen, Section 24.300, Code of Ethics Policy. The Code of Ethics Policy attached to this ordinance as Appendix A and hereby incorporated into its ordinance is hereby adopted as an official and binding policy. 2. Violation of this ordinance and incorporated policy may result in official sanctions. Number 3, this ordinance shall become effective upon its passage and approval as provided by law.
Is there a motion to approve the first reading of this ordinance? Bill.
So on this page,
No, we can't discuss it.
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay. Now we can discuss.
So on compliance and enforcement, I believe that the mayor should be added in on this. Where it says the city code of ethics express standards of ethical conduct expected for the public officials of the Board of Aldermen, city council, council members, or
I have
council.
part of the Board of Aldermen, but that's fine. Officials of we put the mayor after city council then? If you want the word mayor in there,
Okay.
but mayor is part of the Board of Aldermen. Any other discussion?
Yeah, on down on, if the city attorney determines that the complaint is illegal sufficient, the mayor shall hire and appoint a hearing officer. I think that should include the council members there on that hiring?
Let's just change it to the Board of Aldermen then. Would that work?
Right. Just put one word, Board of Aldermen.
Yeah, just replace that first sentence there
Right,
of the next to the last paragraph.
yes. And then down in the last paragraph, the hearing by the city council shall not be subject to a strict rule of evidence and standard proof of required. I think we need.
This was reviewed by Deidre, so she can probably explain that sentence. The very last sentence.
Did you have a specific question that you were gonna ask?
Yeah,
Or
well,
do you just wanna know what the differences
says-
are?
The city council shall not be subject to a strict rule of evidence and the standard of proof required for a final determination of violations of this policy. We don't have to have no evidence to,
No, it just means that you aren't held to the strict rule of evidence that, say, a criminal trial would be. So you don't have to have, you can go off a preponderance of the evidence. You don't have to have, a full evidentiary hearing on things. You don't have to have the same rules about hearsay or the establishment of the actual validities of evidence. If I go into a trial as an attorney in front of a judge, then I have to lay out exactly what something is, have it certified by whoever created it, things like that. So you all can kind of choose what level of proof you are willing to accept for something and what you are not willing to accept.
Doesn't the last part of that
Just not sure.
sentence, for a final determination of violation of this policy shall be a preponderance of the evidence?
Right, so it's a preponderance of the evidence standard, which is what is kind of the next level down from like a criminal hearing.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote?
are we gonna amend this, all these changes and bring it back to vote on it?
The ordinance to
I make a
read the
motion.
second one.
I make a
We've got a
motion.
motion and a second. We've got a motion and a second, so hang on just a second. Let's stick in the discussion here a minute. So adding mayor and board of aldermen under compliance and enforcement and changing mayor to the board of aldermen. That's the two. Can it be approved with those two changes to policy? Or does it have to come back with the policy intact?
You can pass it on the first reading subject to those amendments and then go back, make the changes, bring it back. You'll have to read it a second time anyway because it is an ordinance. And then that will give you a chance to kind of review it further before you actually pass it on the second reading.
Okay. All right, so this is for the first reading only. A roll call vote.
Coulter,
Aye.
McAdams. Aye. Harry,
Aye.
Wallander.
Aye.
We'll have the second reading next month. Now, the next is a surplus property revenue. There was a question from the April meeting because it showed that we had revenue from surplus property. And the $3,800.95 was to the fire department for a general tanker truck that was auctioned off. And $712.50 was from Parks Department, was a 1991 C3500 truck. That was auctioned at Sexton.
Was
That's
this,
just information only, Pardon?
Was this money just put back in revenue, general revenue?
Yes. Goes through receipt management. Okay, number 4 is bill number 1430. It's the resolution authorizing the lease agreement with the Mountain View Family Youth Center on the softball fields. Will you please read the resolution?
A resolution authorizing an agreement by and between the City of Mountain View, Missouri and the Mountain View Family Youth Center. Whereas the City Council of the City of Mountain View, Missouri desires to enter into a ground lease agreement with the Mountain View Family Youth Center, and whereas the City Council of the City of Mountain View, Missouri deems it wise and necessary to pass this resolution authorizing this ground lease agreement. Now therefore it be resolved by the City Council of the City of Mountain View, Missouri as follows. Section 1, that the City Council of the City of Mountain View, Missouri does authorize a ground lease agreement by and between the City of Mountain View and the Mountain View Family Youth Center, a copy of which is attached to this resolution, and authorizes the mayor to execute the ground lease agreement on behalf of the City of Mountain View. Section 2, that this resolution shall be in full force and effect after its passage and approval.
Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
I'll make that motion.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Roll call vote, please.
Coulter,
Are you guys gonna do a
I
discussion?
was gonna say, can we
Sorry.
discuss?
Yes, any discussion?
Are they, is this just kind of a normal lease agreement with all this in there?
Yes.
So they pay the personal property taxes and everything?
Yes, there probably won't be any, but in the chance that there would be, that's what they would pay for. I will also say, I haven't actually heard for sure who is signing on behalf of the youth center. I don't know if they've got anybody here or not, but.
Is there anybody from the board here? I know they don't have a director, and our contact we didn't hear back from. She was a member of the board.
So I haven't had anybody to show this to on their end, so I'm just assuming that they will.
We sent it to, no, if you, I would think you can approve.
Yeah, you all will have to
Present
approve
to
it
them.
before it
Yeah,
can be
you have
passed
to approve
anyway.
it before you would give it to them.
Make sure you're.
And they
good
were
with it.
provided, it was sent to Lakin,
Oh, Lake and Doss.
yes.
And they're gonna maintain the, mowing of the fields and the bathrooms down there?
Let me
It
see
says,
this.
it's a mowing, but
I believe that they are specifically responsible for mowing the grass inside the fenced area during the sports season, and the city would still be mowing outside the fenced area. They would be responsible for weeds and general fence maintenance and gravel between the fields. After the sports season, then the city would be responsible for mowing the fields. So it seems like they kind of wanted it set up where they're leasing it for the sports season, and then the city kind of takes it again. Which that part is a little different than what the city has done with like the school in the past. Most of the time, if the school has it, then the school just maintains it all the time. So that might be something that you'll need to decide if you want to take back over maintenance after the sports season and have them just do it during the sports season, or if you want it to be, and if you are leasing it, it's your problem year round, we don't care if it's sports season or not.
Is this gonna interfere with the school using it?
No, no. They, just like we had the school agree before they were allowed to lease the baseball fields, and like they'll have to with the tennis courts, they have to leave it open for public use. So they can do their things, but they also can't restrict anybody else from using it.
So on the maintenance of like the mowing and stuff like that, was that per the tenant or was that per us?
I believe that was for the tenant.
Okay.
I believe that was their request.
Any other discussion?
This will all hinge on them signing also.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you guys can make changes if you want to. If it goes back to them and they say that they're not okay with it, then we change it again, and you all are either okay with it or you're not, and it goes back and forth until somebody decides that they're done.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve, so we need a roll call vote.
Coulter,
Aye.
McAdams,
Aye.
Harry,
Aye.
Wallander.
Aye.
Okay. Next is bill number 1431, which is resolution for the lease agreement with Mountain View Birch Tree Liberty School District for the tennis complex.
A resolution authorizing an agreement by and between the City of Mountain View, Missouri and the Mountain View Birch Tree R3 School District. Whereas the City Council of the City of Mountain View, Missouri desires to enter into a ground lease agreement with the Mountain View Birch Tree R3 School District, and whereas the City Council of the City of Mountain View, Missouri deems it wise and necessary to pass this resolution authorizing this ground lease agreement. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Mountain View, Missouri as follows. Section 1, that the City Council of the City of Mountain View, Missouri does authorize a ground lease agreement by and between the City of Mountain View and the Mountain View Birch Tree R3 School District, a copy of which is attached to this resolution, and authorizes either the mayor to execute the ground lease on behalf of the City of Mountain View. Section 2, that this resolution shall be in full force and effect after its passage and approval.
Is there a motion to approve this bill number 1431?
I'll make that motion.
This one, the school board, I believe, has already looked at it. I've heard back from Ryan that he doesn't see any issues with it. I had originally spelled Leanna's name wrong, so he told me to fix that, and that was all that I got back on that.
I just have one thing to say. I've been asked several times on this about, and I just want the public to know that the public can use this. The schools don't have full control of it. The public can use it, even with the school lease.
yeah.
Because they were so afraid
No, because it's part of the LWCF park, so it does have to be open to the public.
they didn't understand that when we discussed it the last time. So they questioned about it.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Coulter,
Aye.
McAdams,
Aye.
Harry,
Aye.
Wallander.
Aye.
Okay, the next item is the invoice from Nathan Smith with there were questions about how FEMA was going to reimburse after our insurance. And we did get Myrna to submit the policy, and it had been submitted to FEMA. We did receive the $29,962.59, which was for the debris removal from FEMA. So they have reimbursed us for that, but we're still waiting on the reimbursement for the repairs. But the repairs had to be done before they could be submitted to FEMA. So I am asking that you approve payment of this invoice.
And this is the breakdown of it.
Yeah, that the total invoice, then what Myrna said they would pay, and then a calculation of basically 75% is what we're expecting from FEMA. So then the city's portion would be the 2,000.
Why didn't we get a late notice deductible on this?
Because we had to wait for the quotes and bids to go in, I believe, was one of the biggest delays. I'm going to ask Eddie because he is working on this with FEMA. The delay.
Delay on
From
which portion,
FEMA.
I'm sorry? From
The late
FEMA?
notice deductible,
From Myrna?
yes.
Yeah, that's another one of those things that I was told something from Myrna, and then when I went to get it in writing, I didn't get it in writing. So I was told that the late notice was not going to, that we weren't going to get hit by a late notice on this due to the circumstances. And when I tried to get that in writing, they said no on
This is what they
it.
said.
Which, you know, and at that time, there was quite a bit of turnover, was a little unsure as to who was supposed to be handling these claims. I didn't know how to submit a claim. So that was, I think that was actually the first claim that I'd ever done. By the time I got it done, we'd passed that window.
This is from the tornado of May of 2024, that's what we're talking about.
And we couldn't have got all this in 30 days to them to save $3,900? And I know the last claim that was turned in off of wastewater, we lost $5,000 or $4,000 on that one because it was turned in late. And now we got
But we
another.
still have to pay this gentleman, he's waiting for his money.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to pay Nathan Smith invoice?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you. Okay. Our emergency management director, Will Pierce, will address the emergency operations plan.
I understand you all had some questions last time about the signature required, so I'm going to give you the quick background. There are three types of emergency operations plan. The one we use is the one that's the standard all across Missouri. Every county uses it. It's a plan with annexes. The state of Missouri actually transitioned to emergency support function plan, which is a little, right now, the template for it is a little labor intensive and a little bit more, it should be, once it gets completed, we're going to transition to it in the county. So every county EMD has an approved emergency operations plan for their county and all the towns in the community, or in the region. So for ours, this review came up. We weren't going to change anything as far as the content because it was current content. They just needed an update when we got a new council. When they asked for it, we requested basically a few months until we got the new council seated, and then we would get the signatures. The bottom line is it's a chain of command, or not chain of command, it's chain of contact. So in the event we have a emergency or disaster in town, another tornado, or anything to that extent, the first person, who will be in contact with the emergency management system will be me. But that's on the elected side, it'll be the mayor pro tem, or the council. So they take this document, and they put it along with every other, West Plains, Willow Springs, Moransville, Pomona. They put it in their book with everything else, and they try to keep it current. And then in the event there's a problem, someone over at the county will pull it to commissioners and go, okay, who's the council there? So I know who to talk to, while the emergency support or the emergency management folks will be working through me, Chief Perkins or Chief Tabor. So
Does the sheriff's department, they're the ones that makes the plan, if I'm not mistaken, right?
no, the emergency management director for the county meets with all the emergency operations folks. So law enforcement, fire department, and emergency management directors, they get together. They historically got together every 2 years and reviewed the plan. The format has been utilized since like 1992, and then it's updated every 2 years as technology changes or new equipment changes. This last one, we discussed it at a previous Region G meeting. We meet quarterly as a region. We discussed at that point in time, transition to emergency support functions, which would mirror the current. They distributed this years ago and said, everybody use this format and create the hazards based off what you expect in your area. Ours, highest probability is for disasters is flood. The most severe is a tornado. But we also can have, you got a pipeline out here. You got any number of hazards that here, so that's the whole county's list of hazards. Now, I will tell you that you are not required to go to training. There's recommended training for elected officials. And I'd be happy to provide you that if anybody has the time or desires to attend those. I'm required to attend them. Law enforcement and fire department, they have to attend, or they have to take the courses so that we can interpret, basically translate the plan this big to whatever's going on the ground. What are your questions or concerns?
What I received, and I did read it,
Okay.
was basically definitions of somebody. Multi-agency coordination system. Okay, they're telling me this, telling me that, but I saw no actual
Do you mind if I
plan.
step up there and look at what you got?
Sure, but no, I'll have it. This was last month.
Is this the 2022?
I know it was
Here it is, right here.
right here.
Okay, so this just tells you the definitions. There's about this much more to this that has all the annexes that break down the plan, and then who has, now I understand what,
Yeah, I mean, there was
it's
no,
about this thick.
yeah, there's no plan here, that's what I was saying last
Now,
month.
whenever it breaks down the annexes detail, for example, you might think that search and rescue is a fire department function. It's not. Yeah, I mean, they participate and they may run it, but the jurisdiction over that is the Howell County Sheriff. So the plan itself has all of the different types of emergencies, and it lays out whose jurisdiction, who's top, and then the chain of command. So if we have anything in Mountain View that exceeds our capacity, then we call Howell County. We don't call state, we call Howell County. Just so happens that state, or our region, is right next door in the same building, right, the office next door to the Howell County the EMD, where all the other counties in the region have to call in. We call one guy in our SEMA rep is right there. So the county tries to fill it. For example, when we had the flooding the other night, we had somebody who got washed downstream. We could have called, and I thought about it, but we ended up calling the county. So the county reached out to state, but that took time. It took a couple hours for them to get here. So that's the chain that you follow during any kind of disaster or emergency. that exceeds the capability of your community. So if it exceeds police department or fire department, we call county.
Yeah, I just didn't see a plan there. I saw a lot of definitions.
Appendix
Yeah.
to the plan.
Yeah, if you want to look, I mean, if you want to see it, it's in the office next door. I mean, anytime you want to come in, it's right there on the chair, and it's about that thick, so. But I'd be happy to email it to you if you provide me an email. It's a zip file.
It's okay.
But that's why you got me and Jamie and Jason, is to interpret that stuff. But I would be happy for you to go to the training. So any other questions or comments or concerns that would challenge you from signing on, that you recognize that the county has a plan in conjunction with the state of Missouri's guidance and FEMA? We're good?
Do you have this signature sheet?
Yes.
We have them all signed on the record.
You know, they give you a template. You might handwrite in there if you don't have a Mayor Pro Tem.
Right here. So I
Yeah,
have it.
you can put it all in one.
Is that,
Topics.
or is that something
That's on.
Here's Mountain View over here.
She has a signature sheet for me.
There you go. All right, thank you. You bet.
You know when you're ready to start taking notes. Go for it. The next item on the agenda is parking on Oak Street that was discussed last month. And in discussion at that meeting and since that meeting, I've been asked that it be all angled on the west side, which would be up here, and on the east side, keep parallel from Second south to the alley. And I'm going to have Jamie address this issue with some concerns and
So my concern for the parking on Oak Street with an 18-wheeler is, do you want an 18-wheeler coming up and down Oak Street? Do you want them parking on your new asphalt that you just paid a lot of money to have done? And it's gonna have to be close to the edge of the street down there where that sinkhole was at. That's my only concern with parking there. The angle parking, as you can see here, if they're parallel on that side, it's really only gonna give one lane down Oak Street. If you think about it. I haven't measured it personally, but just driving down it whenever people are parked like that, it's tight, just for two vehicles. And putting an 18-wheeler there is just gonna be impossible. So, a couple of ordinances that the city does have. Under chapter 42.360, this is under the zoning ordinance. Off-street loading and parking. Space for off-street loading of vehicles shall be provided for every new building used or designed for commercial purposes after the effective date of this chapter, which I don't know the date this was adopted. I'm sure the buildings were already here long before this was passed. Off-street parking shall comprise of not less than 180 square feet of parking stall necessary for maneuvering space. Space for maneuvering incidental to parking or unparking shall not encroach upon any public way. Every off-street parking space shall be accessible from the public way. So, if you want to define, I guess it's how you define a new building. Remodel building, is it new? All these buildings here are old. So I don't know if this applies or not. I don't know why that word was put in there, if it didn't apply to this. But it also applies to anything in R1, R2, and R3. The, also in that, where such spaces cannot reasonably be provided the same lot with the principal use, the Board of Appeals, but I'm sure it meant Board of Aldermen, may permit such space to be located on other off-street property, provided such space is within 500 feet of permitted use, measured along lines of public access. So if you could interpret that, I don't really know what that means, but I assume that means straight line to the business, 500 feet. And that's in the central business district. There's also curb loading that the city is supposed to provide for any business that has so many employees. And that is that's under 42.360. Stores or other retail business establishments, one parking space for 100 square feet of total floor area. It's supposed to be provided for parking. Also, under chapter 2-105, which is under the criminal code, under the police department's part, passenger curb loading zones placed adjacent to the curb reserved for exclusive use of vehicles during loading and unloading of passengers. I assume when these ordinances were made, parking was easier because this is a lot. I mean, this is a lot. Like, you have to measure the floor, how many employees there are, and then mark out the spaces, and then enforce that. Under Chapter 2-210, Regulations of Traffic, the designate established and prescribed rules and regulations and operations of bus stops, loading and unloading zones, and taxi cab stands, and in such places as in such manner as they shall determine to be the greatest benefit and convenience to the public, which bus stops, loading and unloading zones, taxi cab stands shall be designated by appropriate signs. So that one establishes the fact that if there is anything like that the city is going to provide, it has to be signed and it has to be appropriate size. And then under 2-410. So this is something that when I first made this a couple of years back, I didn't refer to it as part of the ordinance. Chapter 2-411, parking on city streets. No motorhome, travel trailer, boat trailer, bus, tractor trailer unit, trailer or large truck over 12,000 pounds of weight shall be parked at any time for any period more than 2 hours when not in the process of being loaded or unloaded on any street or alley within the residential or other multiple dwelling use districts as established by zoning regulations or ordinances of the city, and vehicles and trailers shall not be parked on any other street or alley within the city of Mountain View. So this establishes the parking on city streets, and that's a highway there. So, but in the definitions, the city streets is a highway also. So that eliminates people from being able to park on the highway. Now, how much from the sidewalk to the actual road is the city's? Are those parking spaces belong to the state along First Street here on 17? I don't know that answer.
Well, I was told that the
They-
city, the state is not responsible for those. We are.
Okay. So we have one more ordinance, 2-410, that says, no person shall park any vehicle upon a street or alley in such manner as to leave less than 10 feet of width of traveling on the roadway. So one ordinance says you can't, the other one says, as long as you leave 10 feet, it's okay. So that's what we got. So I do recommend leaving at least one loading zone on the 17th side there where that building is tore down. I don't think anybody parks there anyways, or not very often. And that would be a perfect spot to have an 18-wheeler park and unload, and then you go straight on through the intersection when they're done and head out W Highway. And that wouldn't be running up on this street here. I know that's not 500 feet, but that's kind of all we got.
I don't think you would make that corner with a semi-truck on W Highway.
Yeah.
I think you probably, that would be a little tough on 5 corners right there. I mean, I agree with you.
They could even turn left on First, because big trucks come there by the lumberyard.
Right.
They can go back out and around that way, up
Sure.
to Maple now, but
You just
Make
have to
it
have a sign
signs.
that says truck
Yeah.
route.
the only other option to help this side of town is to just let them use the back of the laundromat or back the alley part right in here to take their dolly and drive it out to, without going through the alleys.
Well, they go through the alleys now, believe me. You know that as well as I do. They go from that one, that way, and with the advent of 2 more restaurants on First Street, there's 3 trucks a week going through there.
Yeah. There for a while at that building over here on 17, when they would come out the alley there or even turn in that alley, they hit the power poles all the time and knocked out power. I guess that stopped because they stopped knocking out power or they changed it somehow. I know it's wider down here by the police department to turn in there. That'd be an easy spot to turn in because they made it wider. But if we want to provide a spot, that would be the best spot. I don't recommend Oak Street. I don't think there's going to be enough room. And I think it'll eventually tear up the street.
Well, they can't get to that parking lot, I mean, they're by the laundromat. Because you can't pull in off 17 and go up that hill. You can get a truck up there, but if it got the dollies,
Mhm.
it'll just fold them up underneath because this is too much of a this.
Mhm.
So they can't get out that way. Because
Right.
they do the exact same thing. Somebody just tears the trailer out basically from underneath it.
If they pull in by the police department, since it's widened, they can get through there and then turn through the city parking lot and get back out.
Most of what I see comes in off of, I
Yeah.
believe that is Pine Street, and this street over here with
Mhm.
Second Street, and then they come across the parking lot behind City Hall.
That's right.
That's most of what I see happening. And that's the way they're leaving too.
Mhm.
Jamie, I got a question.
Yes.
Normally, how big are the semis that come here? They're not like,
Well,
Extremely
wholesale
long,
grocers
like
is
kinda
probably your biggest
smaller?
one. The wholesale grocer, I mean, they're about the same size, it's just weight.
They're 48 foot,
Yeah.
some of them.
48 to 50 foot, 50 foot, whatever that is.
okay, I don't know, I just got kind of a little bit of a suggestion. Okay, that building that was torn down,
Mhm.
why can't we get with the owner, clean it up, and maybe have a place where they can pull in. If it's not a great big giant, and maybe that possibility, because that would be closer in the vicinity of the businesses that do need the truck.
Yes, I
Because
agree.
if not, it's just gonna sit there as a pile.
Mhm.
Why not utilize it for maybe a loading and unloading zone
Mhm.
that is off the street? And then they would have adequate to turn out on 17 and maybe come back out this way or another direction.
Right.
That's just a thought.
Mhm. And speaking on another subject, they have been warned to clean that up.
They've been cited.
Cited, okay, they've been cited.
I'm over to buy a lot in brick, but they won't sell them.
But would that be an option if we could get a whole?
I mean, that's not our property. I'm not sure we could force them to do anything like that. It'd have
No,
to be
I
something
don't
that would
mean force, but maybe
Okay.
get with them and see if they would be willing
Mhm.
to maybe use that or sell it, or, and that way there would be no trucks on these streets to
Mhm.
block anything, and they would have their own, that's a pretty good sized area right there.
It is.
And if we're not using great big trucks and they're, I mean, they would
Most of them
fit.
that come in is regular 18 wheelers. Those are just as big as the ones going down highway.
And they
I don't
would-
know if that thing has a basement there, I mean, that building.
I
or
don't know
something.
what's there.
It does. It has to be filled and so, I mean, I guess it depends on what the owner wants to do. Obviously, they're not willing to help out yet, they gotta take it, so.
But that's a good, pretty good space from that sidewalk out to 17 there, so that would be a perfect
Yes.
place to run down the side of.
Mhm. For now, yes.
Yes.
And if they want to offer it up, then, I mean, Deidre would have to look into whether that's legal for us to have a parking space on that or not, but,
I don't know why it wouldn't be, but it, yeah, depend on
Right.
what they wanted in return, I guess.
right.
When I read that ordinance there that said 2 hours.
Mhm.
Basically, they have to be unloaded and or loaded in 2 hours and be gone.
Mhm. That covers any business on a city street. Those are.
Right, I mean, I see, you know, the
Mhm.
appliance store all the time.
Mhm.
So can we, for now, make that from the alley to First Street on Elm a loading
If you want.
zone?
Yeah, that's our property there.
From on First Street, on Oak Street here, or on 17th?
No,
Yeah.
what is Elm?
Elm
Yes.
and First Street.
Yeah,
Yeah, those are normally blocked off. Usually those are painted, say no parking on both sides in that area anyways. So it'd be great just to have that one side as a loading zone. For now, at least.
okay, so angle on the west side, I guess, are we addressing the issue of the second block of Oak Street? Or just this one?
Be honest with you, I just seem to see them parallel parked down on both sides. It is a tight squeeze to meet somebody out there with a pickup with mirrors on it.
But what about where it's curved up?
You can park.
From the alley on down, you
Yeah.
still parallel park there?
You know how to drive.
Parallel park for the first time in years yesterday in Springfield.
Wasn't scared.
Just took me a while.
Would that be bad to parallel park down there
No,
up on the, I mean, I've done it, so.
no, I mean, I don't know. Until you do it, I guess. I don't know. I don't know how much of it's, to be honest, I haven't parked on it yet.
It's not like it used to
Okay.
be, that Honda is not like it used to be.
I mean, if it's icy, I'll always slide down a little bit.
Be a lot less spaces, that's for sure.
Yeah, but to me, it's dangerous, especially right out here in front of City Hall, because there's not no blocker there. And you see some of them people clear up on that sidewalk.
You got two cars out there right now with their tires on the sidewalk.
Right.
You don't
Yeah,
realize
when
it.
a lot of
'cause
people
it's
back
over
out,
this
they
side
get
of
back
us.
out and don't even look.
So I think it's kind of dangerous if
Yeah,
people's
it's a
walking
safety
and
issue.
so, I don't know, that's my thought on it, is parallel park on both sides. That's the way it was for a long time.
That's the way it was for years.
That's up to you guys. Either way is, well, I mean, there's a tire around top of the sidewalk right there, so. But down on First Street, you know, there's no bump either, on 17 here. When you get over there towards the second block, they could go right up on it too if they wanted. But
I always just worry about if there's emergency in there, some of them big, it'd be hard to get an ambulance coming flying up through there, you know.
you're right, you're right. It is, it's tight. It is
You
definitely
can't
tight.
walk on the sidewalk anyway.
So, parallel parking over there on both sides is fine, or whatever you guys decide. I mean, as you saw in the ordinance, it said only for new buildings that you have to provide that. So, I don't guess you have to provide an extra amount of spaces per employee or square foot of the building.
Okay, so
We need a
we
motion.
need to decide parking on both sides of this block of Oak Street.
From first to second.
Yeah, from first to second.
Parallel parking. What are we gonna do?
Are
What are
we
we
decide
gonna
on Elm from first to the alley?
The loading zone from first to the
do?
alley.
Yes,
on
to the
that.
alley on Elm.
Okay,
What about the upper? I think there's more room up. Don't it get wider? It's the north end of Oak. It just looks like it's wider.
It does.
So we could, the other way, park.
oh, angle park on.
Yeah, Angle Park on the north end of Oak.
On both sides?
I don't know, I have to look at that. What do you think, Jamie?
That's where those trailers are parked on.
I would say leave
The
it parallel.
trailers are parked on.
Why do they get to take up parking all the time? Good question.
I would say leave it parallel, because you're gonna confuse people no matter if you have angled parking up here, parallel parking down here, it's gonna confuse somebody. It's already confusing as it is.
Okay, I asked for a motion.
Motion. Okay, I make a motion that from First Street to the alley on Elm Street would be loading zone
With signs.
with signs. Then I make a motion that from First Street to Second Street on Oak Street be parallel parking. And I'm leaving that other one in your hands.
Okay, so your motion is for the loading zone on Elm and parallel both sides from first to second.
Yes,
That's your motion.
that's my motion.
I comment there.
Is there a second? And then we'll get to discussion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Now discussion.
Anybody tried to parallel park over here and open up their door and get out? Right here on this street? Or should I say fall out? Because of the angle like this, when you park there, parallel park like this, your door is downhill because you're going this way. When you open up the door, you kind of fall out. That's why everybody's angle parking. And then for a while, it was the angle parking right there. It was, if you don't get it quite right, when you go to step out, it feels like you're 5 foot off the ground.
Yeah,
I
because
mean,
you're parking
so,
up.
yeah, I mean,
Both of them is dangerous.
and you're gonna hurt business. Anybody that's got a business down there, I realize when you get here to this corner, it's City Hall, and then most of your business is gonna be across the street. They're going to say, why are you hurting my business with parallel parking instead of angle parking. And I do realize that for years it was, you're right. But the angle parked an awful lot down here. What's his name had his barber shop and the restaurant down there. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of,
Well, you have to jump out of it, angle parking it.
well, but like I said, if you parallel park, you're gonna fall out.
It's easier.
Yeah, okay. You know, personally, I mean, the angle parking out here is okay as long as we had something to stop them from driving up on the sidewalk. I also understand, but you have to look down there, I get to see that every day, at least, I couldn't tell you the number of times on First Street, because there is 2 lanes right there of 17 Highway, and then when you get a truck that is a dually or something such as that, or an extended cab that parks, I even suggested they change the angle, which they did. It makes it better to be able to get in, but you still, and it's against the law to cross the center line with a bus or something such as that. But every day, that's the only way they can get through there, because they stick out so much. So you would basically kill about half, I mean, if you went to parallel parking, you're not.
But if you go up and down there, I know my truck that one time, I had to bring my mirror in to get it to clip because I was meeting another pickup.
Right, and I understand that.
I don't want my truck hit, just
Right, but if you change the angle, like I asked them to do on First Street up there, and they did change that angle, it made it to where that bumper didn't stick out a foot farther.
You're still gonna require one-way
Right, you're
driving.
still gonna require it, but if you change the angle, then that means you're not going to stick out quite so much.
But if you drive a truck down First Street here, you still have to move over
Oh, yeah,
into the other lane to get away from the vehicles that are parallel parked. And like if you haven't measured it between parallel parking and angle parking to the other side, is that what she said you hadn't?
Yes, I have not.
And like he said, you would have to make it one-way road because there is not enough room if you did the angle parking and parallel on the other side.
I just think as a business owner, that they're not gonna be real happy about it, because I think it's gonna, kind of hurt their business.
and if you change the angle, you think about it, your right front tire's gonna be up on that hump, and this one's not. So you're
Yeah,
still
I
gonna
mean-
fall, it's just gonna be a fallout.
Right.
Do you want to amend your motion, or does the motion stand?
I'll keep my motion.
Any further
But you guys can change
discussion?
it, I mean, vote it down and start all over.
I would rather table it, to be honest. I realize we need to have some kind of parking out there, but we need to experiment, I think, a little bit, or get something out there to measure it.
Would it hurt to make this a one-way, to go just this direction?
Oh, that'd be, yeah.
Because very seldom do you see them, I don't see them coming up this
Oh,
way.
yeah, they
Everybody's
do.
going
Oh,
that
yeah.
way.
Yeah, they did.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Okay, I'll amend my motion, and we'll just table it and we'll get some measurements on the different angles. How's that?
That'll work. I
Okay,
just don't
and they
want a
grow.
bunch of business
Withdrawing your
people.
motion then?
I'll make my motion to amend my
Should
motion,
you
can I do
withdraw
that?
And make another one?
Yeah, you can just withdraw your original
Okay,
motion.
I
and
withdraw my
just
motion.
table it.
Calvin, you can put one on the table.
Okay, do we have a motion to table this issue?
I'll make a motion to table it.
Any discussion?
Yeah, no.
Well, I mean, it's one of those deals that
I
we're,
know, what can you do?
All in favor to table the parking on Oak Street?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
I do want to bring up, wait a minute, Do we want to address a loading zone on Elm since we've already brought it up?
Yes, I will make that motion that we do it.
You're talking about the corner of Elm and First?
Yes,
Over there.
Alley.
Yeah.
on the west, yeah, on the
On the
west
west
side of
side.
Elm, yes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor of the loading zone designated with signage on the west side of Elm from First to the alley?
Aye.
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 Next is discussion on the dumpster rental rates that we started last month, and there were 2 additional pieces of information in your packet. One is regarding the trash services at apartment complexes, and then there's a dumpster purchase request from the sanitation supervisor.
I'll open this one up. Okay, on this one where the trash service is, okay, so to get this straight, they purchased the dumpsters, but yet the residents are still being charged. Is that how I'm taking that? That's the way he explained it. And if they are being charged after he's done paid for it, shouldn't they be refunded their money back? Because that's being paid twice. If he's done paid
Turn
for
your mic
that.
on. Turn your mic on.
Get a hearing aid, Judy.
Okay, we've got 2 separate things here. This came from the utility clerk.
I'm understanding it like Jennifer is
Is
saying.
It says there's 12 residents paying for trash. Total income of $240 a month. But he's paying for a dumpster for their trash.
So
So
the
on
trash
this-
should already be covered.
Well, it's on their utility bill and it's
And they're
just
being charged
automatically being
again.
charged for trash when the owner of those apartments has furnished them a dumpster and paying for it.
On both sets of the apartments that he owns. That's the way I'm understanding it. Because the other apartments that, Mako, is that what that is? They're not charging their residents the trash because they're providing them with the dumpsters. So if they're
Those
being,
are tied,
they're being
they're saying that
charged,
Maple
then
is tied to this. Okay, we'll have to get some more explanation on this from the sanitation department.
What is she talking about on, it said at a break-even point for trash services, we need to have $1,040 for the larger property and $800 for the smaller. We're currently collecting about half that amount directly from Mako, which residents pay $0 before Mako covers.
Okay, I'm assuming that she was talking about if the 40 residents paid for trash and the 52 in the other,
So they're just
that
getting,
if they were paid that, what the revenue would be to the city.
but they're just doing dumpsters. And so we're not collecting that
Yes.
amount because of the
Yes.
amount of people.
Still picking up 40 residents worth of trash, or 40 locations worth of
my concern is the top one, because if they're being charged twice, then they need to be reimbursed. Because if he's already paying for it, there's no, I don't understand why they are being charged also.
We'd have to go back and and get the time that they moved into those apartments.
Because what is the normal, about 20 a month in your bill?
Okay, so 9 residents at, okay, that's, evidently this is what she meant. 9 residents at $20 would be 180. But the landlord pays
For the dumpster.
$86.66 emptied once a week. So those 9 residents are getting trash service for $86, where 9 residents out on the street would have to pay the 180.
Well, no, that would be, it would be 86 times 4.
Yeah.
Once a week, that's true, that's
Yeah.
true.
So technically he's
Well-
paying,
But them residents on their utility bills been paying electric, water, sewer, and trash whenever there has been a dumpster.
Evidently, there's been no policy set, so, I mean, we would have to go forward whenever you set this policy.
Okay, it says right here, Logan pays approximately $129 for a 2-yard dumpster emptied twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Okay, the 2-yard dumpster dump is $40. So 4 times 4 is $160 a month. So if he's paying $129, then he's not even having to pay the $160, and then the $7 rental that's supposed to be on top of that. So that would be $167. If he's only paying $129, then we need to audit that stuff.
but reimburse the residents for
Yeah, I mean,
paying for
it's not the
theirs.
residents' fault,
Mhm.
but I also understand that he is also not paying
The full
like he
amount.
should. If it's dumped twice a week, that's $40, and a 2-yard dumpster is supposed to rent for $7 a month. So, to me, yeah, you're right, the rental people should not be paying trash, but he's also not paying what he should be paying.
But does it depend on when he started doing that?
But you've
Well,
got,
it says
The
twice
old
a
rate, Is
week.
that the old rate?
If you look at the
$20,
Liberty,
no, it's been that way for well over,
but if you look at the
2
Liberty
years.
one, he's overpaying.
pardon?
If you look at the Liberty apartments, he's overpaying.
Okay, Liberty
So
Apartments,
maybe-
is total income, okay, he's
maybe it
paying
should be
$86.66 once a week on Wednesday, and that is what he should be paying. Because if you take $6.66, that's probably the tax on 80, but there is, once again, no $7 there for rental.
They're not including that in your dump fees.
I know that, but this is what he's paying is $86.66. And that's why I just said, here, look through this dumpster rental guides. If you actually look at that, that's why I said they need to be audited, because more than one person is renting a dumpster, and they're going, well, we're paying $20. Well, that's $20 just to dump it. That does not include the rental of the dumpster. But you're given a total right here of $86.66. The $6.66 is probably the tax. If you dump it once a week, that's $20. They should be paying $87 plus the $6.66 on tax.
So this right here says he's paying $86.66 once a week on Wednesday. So he's paying $86 a week.
Yes, that's under the rates that are in the ordinance is $86.66 for the 2-yard.
A week?
And you're supposed to be charged a
Base,
week.
current rate table based upon weekly pickup, the 2-yard dumpster, because the monthly charges are based upon a weekly rate volume computed at 4.333 weeks per month.
So
We went
$346.
through that.
$346 if you're doing it once a week.
The one above that is saying that, I mean, $129 for a 2-yard dumpster emptied twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Income of $240 per month. Okay, he should be, if that was the case, like I said, if that's a month, then why is the 86.66 a week? That's like
Well,
twice what he should be
Evidently, the
paying.
129 is not correct. It would be 173.32 twice.
Well, his whole complaint was that he was paying for the dumpsters, but his residents, his tenants is paying for them too. So we need to fix that problem. But we need to audit the cost that he should be paying.
The electric, not the electric, I'm sorry, but
Trash.
the utilities themselves, or the trash, I don't know who's responsible for that, but I mean, there's more than one person that is not paying that $7 a month for a 2-yard dumpster. If that dumpster sits there empty, you should still be
Where
paying
is
$7
the
a month.
$7 a month?
I think that's.
Well, that's what this says.
Oh, that's agreement?
Mhm.
Let's see, that says plus $2 per day rent, but that's not the way the system is.
Right, that's what I'm saying is
So more or less Logan's needs to be set up like Mako's, where they're not paying, the renters are not paying for trash as well as him. And then audit his to see if he's paying the right amount for his dumpsters.
Yeah, and we're gonna have to look into Mako's to see, she didn't say how much they was paying.
Half.
Collecting about half is what it is. So really audit all three of these, so it looks like that one is. Audit all three accounts and bring it back.
Yes.
Yes.
Does that, other than, because this is individual accounts, do we need further discussion on the rental rates? Are there any proposed changes to the rental rates? This rental guideline and fee might need to be changed a
We
little
need to
bit
get that in mind.
to
All I got is
match the wording on the
purchasing.
60s.
Well,
This
was
is,
my-
this is from way back,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just information.
All we got in here is buying dumpsters.
Right. Okay. We'll audit those accounts and bring them back.
And table that until we figure out.
Yes. What about the dumpster purchase request?
Well, they need dumpsters, I think.
He's requesting a total of 3, 2 6-yards and 1 4-yard.
Is he here tonight?
Does the supervisor down here have any problem with refurbishments? Or do they have trouble with them?
I think it's just the availability of them.
Is they out of stock? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And it's gonna take 2 or 3 weeks to deliver the new ones?
Well, we need to see how long it takes to get the refurbished and then these new ones, because there's a 2 or 3 week, like you said, on that one. And they might have some refurbishments before then.
Yeah, but currently out of stock, that means somebody has to turn in some bad
Is
ones.
waiting on the price quotes for the 4 and the 6 is what he wrote in over here after he had
that's-
typed it. So,
No.
so 2 to 3 weeks delivery. So this is, that's what the new ones are.
About
You've got
$400,
what they-
$500 more for the new one
So-
than the used
But
one.
they're currently out of stock. Okay.
Do we have an idea of how long they would cut, how long it takes before they come back in stock?
See what we
Turns
can
them
find
in,
out.
you know, somebody buys new, turns the old ones in.
We'll have the sanitation supervisor be here at the next meeting too.
Okay.
All right, so that gets tabled again. Awesome.
I would like to make a motion that since we're tabling this, we will check on the dumpster rates. I will make a motion because right here on this paper, a 6-yard dumpster, you're supposed to pay $20 a month rent. If that dumpster costs us $1,608, we are getting $240 a year. And it will take 8 years to pay for that dumpster.
See, that's ridiculous.
So we do need to address.
It's wore out
the
before
rate.
we get it paid for.
We do need to address the rate of what they pay a month. Everybody should get a 6-yard dumpster, I don't have a problem
Didn't we
with it.
table that last month and supposed to brought it back this month?
No, well, yeah, maybe, let me see what I've got written on the front. Audit such may, is what I have written on there. And see, that's where we're at also, is that we don't know who is paying that $20 a month and who isn't paying that $20 a month. And
Bless you.
That was supposed to all been brought back to us this month.
Lots of things got changed, so. Okay, if you're making a motion to,
the
and we
next
did not
month
we didn't have a motion to that effect, to audit all of the trash accounts or sanitation accounts.
Right,
And,
the dumpster rental rate.
right,
Okay. We can audit the trash accounts. What about the rates?
They need to be addressed. We need to sit down and address such. Because like I said, we cannot afford to keep paying $1,600 for a dumpster. They're gonna go up. I realize that that will increase on a business also, but we can't take 8 years to pay for a dumpster that's wore out in 6, and they're having to replace the bottoms because it's rusted out in 8 years.
so we need to set dumpster rates
Motion to audit trash accounts.
and set dumpster rates.
Okay. That's your motion, sir, to audit the trash accounts and set dumpster rates,
Yes,
In June,
or I'm gonna put to set dumpster rates,
to address the dumpster
or to
rate.
address. Motion to audit trash accounts to address dumpster rates. That's what's gonna be on the June meeting.
And I will make that motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Oh. Now, we're on to new business. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from 4:15, 4:22, and 4:29?
I'll make that motion, let's do it.
Is there a second?
I'll second for discussion, okay?
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any discussion?
On the closed minutes, if I can get to it here, on 29, I think it is. I know when they closed for You've got too many minutes this month. I know, in there, we set a rate for the water person. And it's not in there that we all voted on that. And it wasn't brought back into open session, we just need to, when we come back to open session, it wasn't confirmed at that rate
No
either.
motion to confirm Eddie Owens' water. You want the rate added in there?
Yeah, it was added in there on Terry, so.
Which was?
28.
I think we need to take this back to closed session because there's a couple of things on here that I felt that is not accurate on there that was stated that is not on there and it does need to be done.
Okay, we could do that too.
Well, we need to vote on them. So we have a motion to approve them. So we need a roll call vote.
Coulter?
Nay.
McAdams?
Nay.
Terry?
Aye.
And Wallander.
Nay.
I should have asked, is all 3 minutes?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All 3 minutes did not get approved. Are there any questions or discussion on the department reports?
I have several. Okay, on each report, I requested the first meeting that there would be more specified, more specifics. I'm not seeing it with several of the departments.
If you will, let's make a list of those. And they'll be addressed by someone. Your specific departments?
Yes,
Okay.
one of them would be electric, not specified. Streets is somewhat.
Electric, streets.
And I got a question, why would our department, our parks department, be mowing non-city property when they don't even have their own stuff mowed?
What specific is that? Is it on one of these reports?
Yes, it's on the parks.
What?
Soccer field. That is not city property. Now it's before the association mowed it.
Well, we don't ask any money. The youth center asks $7,000. The city doesn't own the youth center.
We can't even, we don't even have to,
We've got streets department mowing, we've got electric department helping in other positions, you know, when there's other things being done, I think is more what she's trying to say. Not specifically mowing the soccer field, but there are things that are not being done in their job description.
Yeah, my question is, why would streets be mowing the softball fields when there's several streets that need attention?
The streets are mowing the softball field?
That's what's in the report on the 10th and the 17th was done. And I'm all for each other helping one another, but not when there's other priorities that need to be taken care of first. Electric was helping patch streets. There are not no limbs that need trimmed. We see work orders, but we don't have specifics. We don't have, if they did trim, what streets was trimmed on. I mean, I just ask for specifics, so that way we can kind of see where everybody's at.
Maybe we need to have copies of all the work orders.
That
Might
be an idea.
right here on the streets, they mowed the softball fields. I agree with her, it's fine for every department to help every department, but
There are other things that need to be accomplished first.
Their department should be top
How about
priority
if we
first.
start out with copies of all the work orders?
Because I mean, you've got the electric mode too.
Well, they help mow the streets, help mow the veteran cemetery, isn't that Park's job? Streets should be fixing the streets, I believe, not mowing the cemetery. That's just my opinion.
Yes.
Mayor, I got a question on that. Since street department's paid out of a restricted fund, when they are doing the mowing, they getting paid out of street department or out of the other?
Well, the restricted fund is for transportation, and most of that is used for the pole patching and the supplies and stuff.
Yeah, but their wages shouldn't be paid out of, or come out of that if they're working in another department, correct?
It
that's a
comes out of the
restricted
street
fund.
department.
If
Yes,
they're
the
working in a different
transportation fund
department,
is
their
restricted.
money, their hourly pay should not be coming out of the street department fund, because that's a restricted fund.
You are correct.
Thank you.
Also, I want to know too, it says past potholes and washouts from floods. Where? Because I drove down several of these streets and there's still a lot of washouts and there's still a lot of holes.
That's another supervisor that we will need. Do you want copies of the work orders? Let me make my note here.
I think
For now,
would be
yes.
fine. Don't you think
Okay.
that one, we need them?
Our advertisement for the parks closes this week, so maybe we'll have a park supervisor soon.
have we had any applications on it?
Yes, we have some. Anything else on these
I have one.
department reports?
I have a question.
The street on Elm Street, has been bad for a long time. I live on Third Street, and that's on the road to Peaches. If I fall off on my walker, it's gonna be on that road. It is bad.
The sidewalk or the
Sidewalk
street?
or the street. It's been like that since I've lived in my house since 2010, and it's been the same way.
Is that north or south?
East,
East.
East?
it's on the corner of Elm and Third. It's in front of Peaches Road.
You make no for a work order for that.
Yeah, you gave
Third and Elm.
complaint last.
Is it third
It's
and M?
Elm, it's Elm Street, but I live on the
Mars.
corner of
It's
Third
Mars, isn't
Mart, but it's on Mars Street.
On Mar, not Elm.
Also, Ms. Mayor, the storm drains, they need to be specified also, because I do know of a couple of them that I've seen myself that's not cleaned out at all.
Was that the one that you showed me, because there was
I
a work
don't know.
order put in for that one?
Mine was right up here behind,
The one at the lumber yard?
yeah.
Yeah, because we had a work order put
Yeah.
in for that one.
Yeah.
like a log
And a tote.
and a tote and gravel.
Anything else on these reports?
Also, they got the sweeper fixed, maybe they need to hit some of these streets where all this gravel is washed down too, because that is a
I know there's work orders for that.
fall hazard for a lot of people when they get out of their vehicles, especially in front of these businesses and stuff. There is gravel in places.
Over there on Beth, where that woman paid for that asphalt to be put in there, you know, we okayed her to pave in front of her street, the water washed it out, and then
No, there's gravel everywhere.
all that gravel is all of that.
I do know that they have work orders and they are addressing them. Okay, anything else on the department reports? Okay. Any questions on the financial reports?
On the first page of Simmons, merch payout, Square Inc., merch bank card, Forte, are those all four different card processing?
Yes.
How come we're not using just one sole processing for,
Well, there's like 4 different ways to pay the utility bills for one thing.
you know,
And then the settlement merch bank card is the airport fuel, which is a different one. The Square then is for the golf course. And I'm hoping that the pool uses the same.
and there's no way we can have the same card processor?
Ooh, I don't know what it would entail because of the way it's set up in the G-Work system and online.
So
I
it's
mean,
not-
that's something certainly to look into, I guess.
Yeah, there should be a way that I don't know specifics on G-Works, but you should be able to get the same card processors for,
Well, those would probably set up the G-Works. I do not know, just have to
depending on how it
same
works.
card processors.
We're paying a lot of fees for each processor, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, you know, that when you pay online, the person is assessed a fee
The
for the
percentage,
utilities, yeah.
there should be a
It
way.
would be so much easier for the bookkeeper if we had it going.
Oh,
Yes.
definitely.
It's a pain.
and less fees in general, because I mean, even you as a business, you still have fees that you have to pay. The first one of the bank cash report. The page one,
This is,
that one.
yeah, this is because the vote the same thing done, sometimes it's all off. This right here, when you see it, Terry's probably been working on bringing this up, but right here, and all of this is right, this right here will be back to zero.
Once everything is in use.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Thanks for printing this, Terry, for me.
You're welcome.
I'm a little new on this, so on the Treasury Connect, where it shows the available balance, maybe I'm doing this wrong, so somebody might. Do we deduct on the total fundings from each report in the MPUA one to bring down what our actual
Well, on your claims
total
reports,
is?
there's a check number by it that is, and it shows what's paid and what's scheduled.
For the funding, like for the total funding. That's what's being deducted.
Are you saying you want to know if all these total endings has been taken away, or what has
You mean
been
whether
taken
they
away
cleared?
Yes, I guess.
out of
That's what
the,
I'm trying to
Well,
get at,
this
because
is just the Treasury Connect shows a snapshot of that certain day. That's the balances that are in there that day.
because if I deducted it and everything, or maybe I'm doing it wrong, that's why I wanted to ask. The amounts after everything's, how much? Because would you deduct from the first claim report, the balance, the second claim report in the MPUA? However
Oh,
that's
from that balance of, when was this, Friday, the 9th?
from the total funding.
It should be this one.
Well, all of the claims will come out of that general fund of 3101. But these claims reports are from 4/16 through 4/30, which has already been paid out. For the most part, it shows what's been paid out, so
So even though there's a check number in there, it doesn't mean that it's taken out yet.
whether it's cleared or not, there's no way to know unless, because we only have the April bank statement to go on. And
So-
we're already 10 days in.
That's why I'm asking, so if you went off of the total amount and deducted them, that would show how much we actually would have?
Well, no, because most of what is on the claims report from 4/16 to 4/30 has already cleared.
Which would be the total on the back, correct?
Right, for the most part, most of them. You've got, and part of this is already paid. If you look at the back page, next to back page, see the invoices paid and what's scheduled? Because this includes payroll and everything, so that's already gone through that. So from 5/1 to 5/10, there's what's been paid since then and scheduled. 52.55, so that's up to 157. So even some of this would have already been through the bank before 5/9. And pretty well all of it from the 4/3 to from 4/30 would have been through the bank. But until the April bank statement is completed. Or reconciled. You wouldn't have an exact figure, no. Did I explain that? Even halfway?
So these here that on 425, 418, they wasn't on our last month's to be okay. These is bills that's come in after the last council meeting.
Yes. You see the power purchase, which shows up on the claims report through 4/30. That's definitely already gone from the bank.
The MPUA has,
Yes. No, it hasn't come, it has not come through May yet, because it doesn't come out until like the 18th. But it's included in your packet.
yes.
Over the past few months, providing the revenue and the expenses for the total month. By department.
Okay, this MPUA is the electric.
Right, that's the power purchase plus the relief payment and the reserve funding. We're almost through with that reserve funding.
How much do we have to have in that reserve that we don't have to pay that no more?
It's the reserve funding that they required the 24 payments.
Right.
And this one is 22 of 24, so we'll have 2 payments left of the 87.42s. Then we'll be done with that.
So on the April bill on the electric one, is there a reason we hit peak on that when it wasn't that month?
I don't know how this is calculated at all, but it would be for, this is the transmission service. Back here, it shows where they do the show me charge and the actual charge paid by the city.
And the time of peak, is that like minutes or is that hours?
That's a kilowatt.
Kilowatt? Because it was, well, it was during March too. What would cause it to be peak? That now.
I mean, March is understandable because we had a few cold spells, but in April we didn't really have any cold spells, so the peak. Would there not be a reason for that?
We would have to get someone from Show Me Power or the public utility lines to explain that.
Anything else?
Go ahead.
I was just gonna ask on this one right here, is that the restricted fund for your transportation? Is that what, is that actually what we're
You're talking
showing?
about the, you're talking about the motor,
Yeah, the motor, is that?
motor vehicle tax, no.
That was the 1.5%, right?
That's the fuel tax, sales tax that we get from the state. Sorry.
That one that you get the tax?
Yeah, she was asking.
Oh, yeah, that's what we get, sales tax on the.
That would be the transportation, that would be the restricted.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
gas.
That's,
It's a gas.
So that's number 4, okay.
On page 1, the claims report,
which claims report, there's two.
on admin, the first set.
The April or the May?
This is May 8th. In admin, about halfway down, there's our healthcare. Why was that the new hires on 86 and then on the other was 724?
Where's the 744?
This one right here.
Well, this looks like it says a name, and I know that there were 2 people that day. Okay. So,
They just put one on there.
didn't have enough at all. Okay. That's the random one, that's different than the new term. Now, the other one, I imagine that was several, and the only one name got put on there.
I was just double checking that they hadn't.
That's still, that was a lot for.
Right, I'm sure that was. Yeah, I'll check. Thank you. Anything else on this financial report?
No.
Okay. Now, we need to get the authorized signers updated for all the bank accounts. Two sheets in front of you, because we had added Tiffany to the 3 court accounts at Simmons, but in the minutes it didn't say to remove McKenna from us. And the clerk's been,
The first name on there, is she allowed to be on court? Jennifer?
because she is supervising her, but she has court credentials, because she's the treasurer, yes, she would not be into the court system at all, the Shoal court system. But as treasurer, she's responsible for every one of these bank accounts.
I was told she could not be on there, because she's treasurer.
She couldn't be the clerk, she can't have access to Shoal court. And we can remove her off there if you desire.
And really, the city clerk can, you know, 4th-class city. But if, I was told if if she's treasurer, she could not be on no court. The utility clerk that's bonded, have we got a utility clerk that's bonded? Rachel, is she, because she's got a, is she, yeah,
She's notary, but she's not on the
Okay.
utility. No.
I just don't want it to come back on us, you know, on any of us, with her being on there and.
Well, do you want to authorize just the city clerk and the court clerk to be on the court fund?
Yeah.
Okay, then they would read like all the West Plains banks, which there are 2 money markets. The DeBoard CD and the checking for the DeBoard CD. And the other on West Plains Bank is the grant account that was for the Oak Street project, which should be completely closed out now, but it would still remain open until that is audited. So all of the West Plains banks then would be Jennifer Jennings, Terry L. Thornton, and McKenna Smith. And the only change there from previous is to remove Jessica A. Smith and replace with Terry.
And we have to have that said in the minutes, don't we? Or-
Yes, yes.
So, make sure you put that down.
So the Simmons Bank would be to replace Jessica A. Smith with Terry O. Thornton on all accounts. And on the 3 court accounts, 7302, 7308, 7399, it would be the city clerk Terry O. Thornton and Tiffany Young.
Yes.
Removing Jennifer Jennings, Jessica A. Smith, and McKenna Smith. Do I have a motion to approve the authorized signers as I just read?
I'll make that motion.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Now, the next one is the mayoral spending limit. I know Alderman McAdams and Waller both requested this and asked for a bill and ordinance number. The reason that I listed it this way is because that's already passed and it's the city code, and anything that changes will require a new bill to go through. So since we got your request first, will you address this issue, please?
Yes, I just believe that we might need to be aware of a certain amount when it comes to spending, because we have noted in a few instances of some late payments, and not only that, not to be mean, but the mayor should not have the authority for a lot of the larger payments without the council's approval, I believe. And that's why I requested that. That over a certain amount, that the council should be aware of what the spending is being done on.
Okay, so how does it read? It currently reads, shall be limited to spending no more than $5,000. That was from June 28th of 2022. So we need to know what you want it to be, and then we'll ask the city attorney to draft a new ordinance.
I think it should be lowered back down to 1,000 where it was prior to this administration.
Okay. We need a new resolution then for section 21.293. And I added the city code 21.870 because that addresses the purchasing agent.
And I believe it also has the same $5,000.
It does, that's why I brought it, so the resolution then should be able to cover both sections, correct?
We will need a new ordinance we should be able to pass just one ordinance that covers 21.293 and whichever one of these 21s it is in here, I just had it and then just lost it. 21.870. We should be able to do both of those in one ordinance unless you're wanting to specifically change a bunch of other items and you want it to be two separate ordinances for some reason.
Is one ordinance for both of those, okay?
Yes.
My consensus, and then we'll bring the ordinance back forward.
Can I ask
May.
a question? Can I ask a question?
Sure.
It was my understanding that, like as my department, the supervisor could spend up to 1,000, anything over 1,000, we had to go to the mayor for approval, up to 5,000, then before the board. If your
What
limit
happens
is
to that $1,000 for the supervisor?
if yours is at
Yeah.
1,000, is ours going to be reset? Just
And I haven't seen where that's addressed anywhere, so that is something that we do need to probably include in this.
I believe that is also laid out in that larger purchasing policy. So probably if we're going to start making changes to that, large sections of it came just from other towns in their entirety. And so you might want to just review that as a whole because it does specifically say, under that same 21.870 authority for purchases, that the superintendent of a particular department, so like Jason, after consulting with the purchasing agent, which is currently the mayor, and obtaining permission from the mayor, could be authorized to make purchases of less than $5,000. So we even have kind of that middle ground where just your supervisor can approve up to 1,000, mayor and supervisor can approve up to 5,000, and then past 5,000, it already has to come to the council. So if you're dropping everything back down to 1,000, then we'll need to change at least that entire section to whatever you want it to be now, and maybe other sections in here. I haven't had a chance to read back through the whole thing today.
So we need to know what your consensus is then for supervisors.
I think the supervisors can stay at 1,000 as well. We just need to know about it after the fact.
And the next item, the obsolete personal property auctions, is also part of this purchasing. It talks about obsolete when the estimated value exceeds $5,000, but I haven't found any procedures for the obsolete personal property that's less than $5,000. And apparently there are several pieces of equipment that are laying down around the maintenance and the sanitation that could be sold as in an auction or listed in the newspaper and asked for bids. We have been approached by a gentleman asking about an old recycle truck, the Chevrolet, that's been sitting for a long time, and the sanitation supervisor does approve getting rid of it, but there's some equipment that needs to be cleaned up and cleaned out.
Is our mechanic capable of going over like some of the equipment to see if it's fixable?
I
if
would
it's
assume that he had already done that this is some of this. Do you have knowledge of some, and I'm sure Eddie does have knowledge of some, and probably also Jamie?
He is swamped. He can't get to our stuff in time. He's got a lot of equipment to work on.
So is there anybody capable of going over it to see if it's worth salvaging before selling it? Like, for instance, we have a 15-foot brush hog over at the golf course. Is it fixable?
Yes, it is, I'll tell you that.
You know, that type of situation, like if it's fixable, then remove it from the situation it's in and see if it's fixable first before we sell it.
Well, I guess he would be what the logical one to be able to tell us.
Is there any,
Yeah.
isn't that brush hog,
As far as I know, it needs some hydraulic cylinders and tires on it.
and they pushed it down in Battle Creek?
Probably some WD-40.
Looks like we need to compile a list first. And we'll see where we go from there. All right. Next, Jason, if you will be ready to answer.
What are we gonna take them down to 1,000, is that what we agreed on?
Yes, she's gonna read it.
Yeah, Dee will do a new start.
Okay.
And then do you want me to just completely get rid of the part about them needing to consult with the purchasing agent, because now there's not going to be any middle area? There won't be that 1,000, 5,000 gap where they need to get permission, so basically it'll be supervisors can do up to 1,000. They don't need to ask anybody about it.
Have to
And then,
bring to me for the council.
right.
Yeah, might as well eliminate it.
Jason?
Can you come up?
Yes, please. I'm sure they'll have questions.
The new set of battery-powered extrication tools that we have, thank you all, we love them. But the old hydraulic set that we have, they are in working order now. They're not the most reliable. Peace Valley has no extrication equipment. They rely on How Rule, us, Pomona, different ones, depending on, like, if there's an accident in Peace Valley district, whatever side it's on, they rely on the other department usually if someone needs extraction from an accident. We kind of like to have permission to donate them. Our old set, it is usable, could save us a trip to their district, may help them get somebody out a little quicker. I will have a sign of value to something like that. I've looked at old sets online, they're really not worth very much. That
How old is that?
25 years, probably.
What happened to the one that was purchased in 2021? Jaws of Life, is this the
It
same
was a
thing?
combination tool. It is still in use for us.
You still use this?
Yes.
Okay. So this is the real old one.
Yes. It's a hydraulic set. Actually, they're super heavy. It takes two guys to run one, but it is better than nothing for them.
Do we have a motion to approve this donation?
I will make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hang around.
Now, Will and Jason are going to address this emergency management storm shelter registration.
Did you all have an opportunity to look at it?
Yes.
Okay, so in response to a inquiry from the audience last time, we went online, found some multiple storm shelter registrations, tailored one for the city of Mountain View, has the basic information, name, street address, has a little block to check if you want your address submitted to the 911 mapping system, which Jason's going to talk about. It has property location inside or outside, because this covers the entire Mountain View Fire District, not just the city of Mountain View. Phone numbers, types of shelter, identify whether you have safe room, storm shelter, basement, how to get to it, special needs, if you like email confirmation, put your email in there, signature person filling it out, and submitted a hard copy form. I also provided you a recommended media release. Basically, it tells you it's only available in hard copy right now. We will pursue an automated version. When the city, a copy will be kept at the fire station, a copy here at the emergency management office. And then Jason's going to talk to you about how we're going to try to get it into a mapping system.
Before he starts, we do need the post office box 1090 added going down to the bottom of that. To submit the form, please.
Understood. P.O. Box.
1090.
Okay. I'll send it to you tonight. You bet.
We are dispatched, South County 911 on a app on our, we have radio traffic, but there's also an app on our phone called Active 911. It'll give us an address. 911 Howell County does not have the capability to add the storm shelter to this from their end. However, we have access to be able to customize that app a little bit, like we can add fire hydrants to it, and it will tell us you're, 200 feet from your nearest fire hydrant in a certain direction. And we've kind of played with that app a little bit, and we've got it figured out how we can map it on our active 911 app on our phone. And so in the field, we should be able to pinpoint exactly where storm shelter is adjacent to your house and on your properties.
So, and this is Chief Perkins and Chief Tabor concur with the form we developed. So if you're all good with it, you can post it on social media, they can print it, or they can come by City Hall and pick up a hard copy and fill it out right there.
Thank you.
Any questions? There's no action to be taken, but you got any questions?
No, that's good. Thank you, guys.
Okay, next is our Bill 1432, which is the pool rates for the 2025 season. If you want.
An ordinance amending Chapter 26, Part Board of the City Code of Ordinance for the City of Mountain View, Missouri. Whereas the City Council has determined there is a need to amend Chapter 26.071, set municipal pool fees, in order to update pool fees for the 2025 operating season. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Mountain View, Missouri, the City Code of Ordinance hereby amend as follows. Section 26.071, municipal pool fees. Section A, pool passes, individual, $60, two-member family, $100, three-member family, $130, four-member family, $160, additional $20 for each individual over four-member family. Family is defined as all individuals living under one roof. Senior citizen passes, individual 65 and older, $45. Water aerobics only, $35. Section B, daily admission fees. Ages 5 and up, $4. Ages 4 and under, free. Senior citizens, individuals 65 and older, daily admission $1. Section C, pool parties and rental rates. 2-hour flat fee, 2-hour flat rate, $250. 3-hour flat rate, $350. No pool parties or rentals for periods longer than 3 hours without authorization from the pool manager. Area summer schools within 40 miles, 2-hour flat rate, $125. Business sponsorship for free swim day, $500 per day, maximum capacity 300. Section D, water aerobics and open lane swimming, $1 per session or included with season passes. These rates are effective as of June 1, 2025.
Is there a motion to approve bill number 1432?
Is there a reason we took the age limit off from last time to this time?
It wasn't taken off, it was just, this is just changing section 070.
Just that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I might throw in here that these fees that she just read off increased $10 for each level.
On the
1 through 7, and the daily admission fee went from $2 to $4. And these would have to be effective as of May, the pool's gonna open the Saturday before Memorial Day.
You need your motion and your second for
Yeah.
you to do your discussion.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion, is there a second? I'll second. Okay, now for the discussion here. Okay, got the $10 increase from 7 levels, and then it went from $2 to $4. And it's just, nothing else of the only the section 26071 is here. But we do have to change this. Whatever that Saturday is.
The Saturday before Memorial Day is the 24th of May.
Okay. It needs to be effective May 24th. Okay, any further discussion? Questions?
Senior, on this, on the O1, the senior individual,
Uh-huh.
$1. But up here, the senior pass, you raised it $10.
Senior
So wouldn't it just be
daily
cheaper
admission
to-
is $1. Season passport, well, if they were gonna swim more than 45 days, I don't know.
Well, on the old one, it was $1 then.
I know, it's cheaper. Cheaper just pay it by daily.
Well, yeah, the pass is for the whole
Don't start.
season.
Does the senior pass include aerobics?
One of them does with $1. It says water aerobics and open lane swimming, $1 per session or included in the senior pass. But it says senior citizens, individuals 65 and older, daily admission $1. But you raised the senior pass for $10.
Hey, you said you, I didn't do that.
Oh, I told you to stay out of it.
Shut them out.
Okay,
So,
how many days does a senior swim? Between May, or June,
Well,
July,
they
and
don't
August?
start, they don't usually start water aerobics until what,
I
few
think
weeks
it
in? Or is it
Oh, I
right
thought she
away?
was doing it right away, but.
I may be wrong on that, I didn't think it started right
somebody
away.
said the other day they was looking forward to it, because I guess they go right down there. I don't know. So,
Well, that's.
They went every day
They
of the
could
summer,
pay
would it be
$2.
like $90?
pardon?
If they went every day of the summer, would it be like $90?
Seniors can count that far. I am one.
I'm not on yet.
Well, what did
So
we,
the
what
$45
did we
per
raise, just the individual?
Yeah.
It's cheap.
Well, the dollar rates,
Mhm.
And then,
daily admission may get $2.
Mhm.
and then me personally, I think we need to lower the 4 to 3 because that's kind of a jump for just one kid, $4.
It used to be 2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, while we're discussing, then let's by consensus, decide what you want it to be, and we will
We really need to get this
have
passed.
a new, yeah, we wouldn't be able to post it. Well, the 10th, the meeting's earlier in June though. What's the first, second Tuesday in June? We need a calendar up here, don't we?
The 10th.
Yeah, okay, so we can get the new ordinance on the 10th and still have time before it opens.
Wait a minute, I got-
Yeah. Never mind.
No, we
Okay.
need to settle.
We can set the rates and then do the ordinance next
So
in June?
you've already had a first reading, so you've had a first reading, you're making changes before a second reading. If you decide what you want your changes to be, you can go ahead and do your second reading tonight based on the changes of the first reading.
Okay. All right, okay, any further discussion, right?
So you want to raise senior rates to $2 and drop the individual ages 5 and up to $3? Is that what you're talking?
Yes. So B, daily admission fees, it will be $3 on one, ages 4 and under 3, and senior citizens daily admission is gonna be 2. And leave the water aerobics at 1.
Or included with season pass?
Right.
Yeah.
For a person that's paying $2 to swim and want to go to aerobics, it's gonna cost them another $1.
Yeah, but that was,
So is that what we wanna change then? Leave the 45 and the 35?
Yeah. Is it true it's got a leak in it again?
Water
aerobics.
I don't, nothing's been verified, I don't think it does. So we're just kind of waiting to see what's going on.
It did lose water though?
They said it did, I didn't witness it firsthand. The pump was off, you know, when the pump's off, weird things happen with that pool. I know, at least that's the way the old pool was. I'm wanting to make sure 100% that we're not losing water, or if we are, I want to make sure that we actually are before I make any phone calls. There is a leak under the concrete, but that is the pressure line that feeds the spigots. So as soon as the tennis court people are done using water, we're going to shut it down, bust that up, and try and fix that leak. That's on a 3/4 inch line too, so that's not anything to do with the pool pump system. So they said,
Get back to our,
Okay.
sorry. Okay. We've had the first reading.
Right.
Do we have a motion in the second yet? Yes, we do. We've had discussion on the first reading, and we're changing 2 things in the date. Correct? So I'm calling for all in favor.
Do we
Say
have a
aye.
motion on this change?
You'll have to approve it in the second reading anyway, so I guess if one of you doesn't like what the others have suggested, you can make your changes on the second reading and then vote yes or no.
We're approving the reading with the discussion that we've had with these 2 changes. That's what the motion that I'm calling for the vote.
I'll make that motion.
But we already have a motion in a second. We need a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Say it,
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, we're gonna have the second reading with the 3 changes.
Bill number 1432, ordinance 1775. An ordinance amending chapter 26, part 4 of the city code, the ordinance for the city of Mountain View, Missouri. Whereas the city council has determined there is a need to amend chapter 26.071, set pool fees, in order to update pool fees for the 2025 operating season. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Mountain View, Missouri, the City Code of Ordinances hereby amended as follows. Section 26071, municipal pool fees. A, pool passes. Individual, $60. Two-member family, $100. Three-member family, $130. Four-member family, $160. Additional $20 for each individual over four-member family. Family is defined as all individuals living under one roof. Senior citizen pass, individuals 65 and older, $45. Water aerobics only, $35. B, daily admission fees. Ages 5 and up, $3. Ages 4 and under, free. Senior citizens, individuals 65 and older, daily admission, $2. Pool parties and rental rates. 2-hour flat rate, $250. 3-hour flat rate, $350. No pool parties or rentals for periods longer than 3 hours without authorization from the pool manager. Area summer schools within 40 miles, 2-hour flat rate, $125. Business sponsorship for free swim day, $500 per day, maximum capacity $300. B, water aerobics and open lane swimming, $1 per session or included with season pass. These rates are effective as of May 24th, 2025.
How about June? I'm sorry. It says June 1, 2025.
Yes, we had to change that to May 24th, 2025, because the pool will open before June 1st.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the second reading of bill number 1432? We need a roll call vote on the second reading.
Coulter,
Aye.
McAdams,
Aye.
Perry,
Aye.
Wallander.
Aye.
The next item is the kiddie pool fence quotes, but do we need any further discussion on the leak that we were talking about? It is being addressed. Okay. All right. Myrna is requiring, or I guess Myrna requires either a fence or a separate lifeguard for kiddie pool. And these are the quotes for the fence.
Did the other one get taken out?
Yeah, it got taken out with the previous demolition. We made it through last season, but by the end of the season, it was basically saying you need to get another fence in there before the next season.
So we have one from Williams for $1,083.39. And the other two bids from Ozark Fencing and West Plains Fencing. Ozark was $2,250 and West Plains was $3,500.
What's the difference now?
The only one I met with was Ozark Fence. The pool manager met with the other two, so I'm not sure. I haven't seen all the invoices or the bid.
And all that she provided were these text messages.
It's kind of a big difference in price.
Yeah, $1,000 to,
Well, does the first one, is that including with the drilling and the concrete? Because I don't see it on here. Is that what made the difference, maybe?
Which one's that, Williams?
Yeah. Well,
I
it
don't
says
know. I didn't
for
read
drill
it.
back here.
well, this one here says that I will need to post drill into concrete. I don't know which one this is, Ozark Fencing.
I do remember, like I said, that's the only one that I met with. The other two, Kayla took care of. I'm assuming she met with them. I mean, there had to be somebody there to let them in.
This little diagram on the second page
Uh-huh.
shows the core drilling. And its materials and the
And
total.
theirs was
But it's not stating it.
$1,000 and the other's $3,500. $1,000 and 3,500?
I'm not surprised at the 3,500 one. Look, seeing the quotes I've got from them in the past, they're typically a considerable amount higher. But there usually isn't that much of a difference between Ozark and Williams. They're usually pretty close, a lot closer than that. You're talking half of the drive. So.
Yeah, Williams is $1,000. Ozark is
Since
3,500.
since I spoke with,
No, I take that back. West Plains Fence is 3,500.
yeah. They're typically, that's been my experience. I didn't talk to Williams, so I don't know exactly what he quoted.
$300 that must be the labor.
All of that.
That's Williams. So you want me to look at it?
Eddie.
Sorry.
He also emailed here and said that he would be drilling.
You said he would be core drilling?
Yeah, he said he'd be using a core drill.
Does Ozark Fence specify a gauge on the wiring post?
There's nothing except text with a total amount.
The only one that has a specific is.
Self-closing lock gate and 40 posts in top rail core drilled into concrete. This here says you're 110 feet of 3-foot chain link.
What was that?
That one. It says you're 110 foot of 3-foot chain link with a scheduled 40 post and top rail drilled into concrete.
Oh, yeah, that's 110 feet. And this is total footage is 66 feet.
So there's
What?
gonna be a pretty good difference.
The Williams shows 66 feet and 36 inches.
Yeah.
So these aren't the same width.
Yeah, because before I met with Ozark Fence, I was under the impression we were going to fence all the way across in front of the concession area to prevent trash and whatnot from the eating area from blowing in the pool. It doesn't look like on this diagram that that's what Williams quoted. So the bids aren't going to be comparable. So, he might still come in cheaper, but it's not going to be half price. By the time you figure in all that extra footage, that is going to increase the price.
Can we table this until we get the same design of fence so we'll know who's?
We need
It
a breakdown
it
of
needs
the
to be a
other
fair
two.
quote.
We need a breakdown of the other two, just like the first
Yeah.
one on.
Yeah.
So we'll know exactly what you're gonna.
Are you guys gonna have to have a special meeting for that, and the pool open without that fence?
You just put a guard over there.
We can post a guard until they get that.
You need to get verified for it.
Right.
It'd be nice to get it done before.
That's why we never did before last year, because I went.
There's too many nests there, so.
Somebody said they have a lifeguard.
Okay.
Consensus to get verified quotes.
Yes.
Okay.
The next is the wastewater bar screen repair. I think we talked about that bar screen, knowing that we ordered the parts to have it rebuilt. I was just waiting to get the life out of the one that we did. And Johnny Tabor has pretty well spelled it out here. And there are 3 quotes on it and that's for the labor, because we are supposed to have all the materials that we need.
Right.
$5,000 quote, 10,560, and 11,245.
Well, they're paying better engineering.
I talked to the supervisor down here, and, he said that the 5,000 would be just as good.
Okay, we need a motion to award that.
I mean, I don't know, Calvin, did you talk to him?
No, I didn't have the time. I wondered which one he felt like he needed to
Well,
go.
that's why I went down there and asked, and he said, these two guys is a branch, and what they figured on the $10,000 one was two guys at $165 an hour for 4 days.
Actually, two.
And, but he said these guys can get the job done for $5,000. They said they got 3 weeks before they, or 2 or 3 weeks before they could get there. So they said they've had to do it by hand before, so they don't like doing it, but they can.
Okay, do we have a motion?
And we don't have to go with that, that's just what he told me, it's just up to you guys.
Well, no, I was just looking, I mean.
It's double on the other two.
That's why I'm wondering, why is it double? And one of them's only 5 and the other one's 10 and 11.
Oh, this one's closer.
I mean, what's,
Oh, that one here, come out of, is it Iowa or Kansas or someplace?
yeah, the one come out of
Someplace.
This is the
Utah.
transducer, that's not the.
Yeah, that's a transducer, yeah. Pardon, Calvin, what'd you say?
well, one of them come out of Utah and the other one come out of Springfield, and then this one's out of Ava.
And he's used them before, the 5,000, he has used them before. And he said it's always, I asked him about the guarantee of warranty on work, and he said it's always 30 days on all of them.
Okay. I do-
I'll make them,
Any idea when they can get to it, I wonder? Or how
he
quick?
said it'd take 2 or 3 weeks, because that's just on all of them.
Yeah, one of them says 3 to 5 weeks.
Yeah, that one is way behind. So I'll make a motion to go with 5,000 with the CW pump and control.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to award this to CW Pump and Control for $5,000. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay. The next item is a transducer repair on well 5 storage. Quoted price. Eddie, can you address this, please? And why there's just the one?
Right. Oh, gotcha. So on the water wells, we have transducers at each storage facility, and that's what tells us how much water we have in our tank. So ideally, when everything's working properly, we have set points on our SCADA system to where we have several different, we got 4 stages for each storage facility. Stage 1, you have set at a certain height to kick on and kick off. So you'll set your stages at, for example, Tower 2. Full at Tower 2 is roughly 128.9. That's feet in water. So you would want it to kick off a little bit before that. You don't want it to overflow. So you would set it to kick off at, say, 128. So it would kick on at 126, kick off at 128. Just throwing some numbers out there. Stage 1, 126 and 128. Stage 2 would kick on if stage 1 can't keep up. So you would set it to kick on at 125.5. Same thing for stage 3 and stage 4. Same thing with well 5, or the 1,000,000-gallon storage tank. So what's been going on is you go in and set those set points for well 5, should be overflowing at 21.9 feet, but the transducer that tells the SCADA system how much water is in that tower, how many feet is in that tower, has been fluctuating severely. So when it starts to fluctuate, the SCADA system thinks, hey, we need water. So it starts pumping. And if it ain't filling up fast enough, it goes to kicking on other wells as well. So, for example, I went to bed, I don't know, it's probably been a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago maybe. I went to bed, looked at the wells. It showed, the well 5, 1,000,000 gallon. It showed it currently at 15.3 feet. It hadn't been overflowing until it hit roughly 18 feet, which is not right, because 22 feet is full. So I went to bed, well 5 was running, trying to fill it back up. Tower 2 was roughly 128 feet, about a foot away from being full. So when I got up the next morning, still said the same thing. So I got up, went in to do dailies. I went to Tower 2 first to see if it was overflowing, and it was. I think it actually said like 128.5. Well 5 still showed 15.3 feet. I went up to well 5, walked all the way around the fence to the overflow. Water's just rolling down the hill. So at 15.3 feet, it doesn't actually overflow until it hits 21.9 feet. So that transducer was off that many feet. So it fluctuates from 15.3 at full to 18 feet at full. The problem with the fluctuation is that I can't keep up with the set points. I can for Tower 2, everything's good on it. But for well 5, like today, I might set it at, okay, we think it's gonna overflow at 15 feet today, but it might start saying at 18 feet is full, or 15 feet's not enough. I just need a consistent reading on my transducer in order to maintain a consistent level of water in that tower. Because if, go ahead.
I was gonna ask, how long has it been since it's been replaced?
I don't know. I mean, you don't know, I just recently took it over back in February.
Right.
I feel like it was probably malfunctioning prior to that. I don't know how bad, I don't know how long it's been doing this. Prior to me taking over, the wells weren't running in automated mode. They were just run manually, which works if you want to spend your whole life on your phone checking wells, turn them on, turn them off. So I got everything working automated again, where it's actually kicking them on and kicking them off. But the problem is, well 5 is not dependable enough to do that. So that's...
So you're having to run it by hand?
No, I'm not running it by hand. I've got my set points set low enough, because I'm sure you've heard all about the overflow in Tower 2. It took me a little while to figure out what I needed to do on the set points to prevent that. I just backed them off. You know, I'm not filling them up completely, which down here, y'all aren't going to notice it. But if you live out on whatever county road that is, I don't know the numbers, but if you're, and we do have some customers right up there below the tower. If well 5 is full, they don't have great pressure anyway. So if you got a 5-foot fluctuation up there, or 7 or 8 foot fluctuation, they're really gonna see it at their tap. You won't see it down, you won't see a difference of 5 pounds down here, because the average in this part of town is 85, 88 pounds. You're not gonna see a difference in 5 PSI there, but you will up there, you know, up there on end of Delp Road, I guess, whatever county road that is. So, I don't know how long this transducer's been up there, because it's different from the one at Tower 2. I think that's the newer one we have. That one's, I don't know how many years old. It's 3 years old, maybe 2 years, 3 years old, something like that.
Is 5 the big one out off of Duck Road?
Yeah.
2's the one right up here?
Yeah, two's the tower.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5's they call it a ground storage tank, but yeah, sitting up on that hill. So, Vandeventer Engineering is who we go through for all of our SCADA stuff. Same thing for all of our wells and the lift stations. It's a Cogent company. But they kind of got the market cornered on that stuff. You know, it's kind of a lot like, you know, Johnny and his wastewater stuff down there. Cogent is I guess, like the parent corporation, and then Vandeventer Engineering is the one that usually handles all of our SCADA issues. So I've had to rely on them quite a bit the last couple of months, just calling and picking their brain. They can usually walk me through how to fix something when the computer system goes down. They're pretty good about it with that.
What's the warranty on it?
So I asked him, he said, they guarantee a 1-year warranty on it. He said if the manufacturer warranty for that part, you know, exceeds that, they will match whatever that manufacturer warranty on. So.
Any more questions? Well, number 5, the only one that needs anything like that.
Yeah, as far as parts replaced, that's the only thing I'm aware of. I talked to him when I called and asked him about the warranty. I don't have an issue with one of the lift stations running. It operates like it's supposed to, but part of our dailies is we have to go to all the lift stations. There's one in Burning Tree, Country Meadows, and Southern Hills. We basically just have to show up, make sure they're pumping, make sure they're not close to overflowing. But we have to log how many hours those pumps run. But Country Meadows shows 25 hours every day. Sometimes feels like there's 25 hours in a day, but we know that ain't right. So when I talked to him, I asked him if they were down in the area, can we check that out? Because it should be resetting itself every 24 hours to tell me how many hours that, you know, each pump runs. So. But they're working properly, they're just not logging the run time like they're supposed to.
And the communication between your phone and the pumps is
The
good?
well pumps, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just, it's only as good as the information that it's getting.
And this will prevent 5 from flowing over anymore?
Ideally, yes. Because, I mean, it's all over the SCADA system, it's, you know, the previous supervisor had it written down for me. This is what Tower 2 overflows at, this is what well 5 overflows at. And, I mean, the information he gave me matched to what is on the SCADA system. So I've relied on that. Well, the transducer for well 5 is malfunctioning. When I feel like we need to be getting more water in that, or the SCADA system thinks, hey, we need more water, it don't necessarily need it. So, but yeah, it's, you know, a person don't think about a little item yay big around making a difference, but that little transducer makes all the difference when it comes to telling your wells, do we need to kick on or do we need to kick off? You You know, we're wasting water, we're wasting bleach, we're wasting electricity.
So they're gonna come down and install this? Okay.
Yeah, that covered the part. The part was probably the cheapest thing in the whole bid. But from what I understood, that was gonna cover the part, their travel time, installation, and any training that had to be done on that, so.
Okay, any further questions?
Can I call for a motion to approve this purchase?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the bid from Vanter Engineering. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the next item, and Jamie, I will ask you to address this if they have questions. When we have inmates in the county jail, they've been invoicing $45 a day. And we finally got those invoices from March of '22 through 4/6 of '25. It's a total of $18,360. And I guess West Plains and Willow Springs and Mountain View haven't been paying these fees. And Beverly Hicks headed a committee, I guess, to come up with a memorandum of understanding so that the three cities would start paying the county for their jail facilities.
Yes,
You
that's
want to
fine.
add to that?
And
It took some time for us to get copies of the invoices because we had not been receiving them, no.
I wonder what Beverly Hicks was on here, and I thought, what she had to do with South County Jail?
No, she and Zane Corbett were the ones that drafted this.
So the jail bills is a result of the judge issuing a warrant or, committing someone to jail, which is a jail function, or, a court function. It's not under the police department's purview. They separated powers, the Supreme Court separated our powers. We have no jurisdiction over jail bills or jail people going to jail. We take them there, but it's the courts. So by law, we're supposed to pay that bill to the sheriff. As long as they have a room open for us to put somebody in there, we do. If it's a city charge. State charge, we are not charged for that. That goes to the state. So anytime the judge issues a warrant, they go to jail, we have to pay that bill. And my understanding is we cannot make them pay us back. Is that right, Deidre?
We can try and get the inmate to pay us back, but that has about as much success as you would bet it does. But we are on the hook either way, so.
Yes, so the bills go straight to City Hall, but it's addressed to the police department, but it goes to 1090, Box 1090. It's supposed to go right to the court clerk. It's not a function of the police department. So, and it never has been, as far as I know. Since I've been the chief, it hasn't. Used to, they would add on a bill for jail fees, and they'd pay the city back, which we would reimburse our money. But that is not allowed anymore. I guess the Missouri Supreme Court changed that. I don't know when, but they changed it. So that's where we stand. We do have an outstanding bill of $18,000 for jail bills over the last 3 years. So I don't know what year it was. The city of Mountain View passed an ordinance, an automation fee, which Judge Haas said could go towards paying for a jail bill. So I don't know where that money was appropriated and where it was put. I don't know if it was ever sent to the jail or what. That was passed a long time ago. I don't, Mary was the clerk at that point.
I have learned that in recent years, Show Me Court, the system and everything, it changed to Show Me Court. And I know I had asked the court clerk about this, and she said that she was told not to pay that bill, that the court wasn't supposed to pay the bill. Well, I guess that's true, because the Show Me Court does pay the city once a month. It goes into miscellaneous revenue. It's not tracked accordingly. So I don't know if that money is what is supposed to have been paying this. Part of it, I guess, would be anyway, because I don't know what all comes out of that money or where that revenue is generated from. But again, that's the court side of it. But it's my understanding, and West Plains and Willow Springs, the city of West Plains and the city of Willow Springs, in the same boat that we are.
We all three had the same ordinance.
Yeah, and they haven't been paying that bill.
So so I know court fees used to be $32.50, and then it went down to $29. So I don't know if that's taken out a $2 automation. I have no idea how it's broke down. I don't get to see that report.
I don't think that one came out. I think what came out was the retirement fund. I think that's what came out.
For the sheriffs?
Dropped it, yeah. And then we went back up whenever we joined Show Me Courts for whatever theirs is, and now it's $33.50. But
Okay.
I don't think the automation one ever came out. I think that's
So
what
this
it
is
very
just our
confusing.
part of it?
Yeah, that's just our part of it from, I
You've
mean,
been preloading.
but the other cities have too. I mean, it's,
So do we need to do something to where so much comes out of the court that would automatically go into a fund to keep this covered?
it
Maybe?
does in the Show Me Court system. But where it gets, how it is run through receipt management is
It's not
Is the
to
puzzle, is the-
department that it should be.
It goes into miscellaneous for police. But how it gets, because the short codes from receipt management and the line items from accounts payable and receivable don't always get where they should. And that's one of the problems that we discovered.
Well, has our court clerks been collecting, I mean, do they get this check? You said it's sent over to the court clerk.
No, the court clerk pays the city out of the Show Me Court. But our court clerk records had to be audited over 3 years to even
No wonder
get to where we are. So, I mean, this is another,
Okay.
So the fund that we're receiving that is going into the miscellaneous, is that enough to pay
well,
all
over the
this?
3 years, because it's less
Yeah,
than,
it's
sometimes
$45
it's
a
20.
day, it's like $2, so it's
Yeah,
not,
so
it's not
that's
gonna be
not,
enough.
it's not gonna be enough to pay, no.
Not the whole thing, I
No,
mean,
but
Because it
there has
says in here
been
we
some,
owe $45 a day?
well, that's
that's
as of
what the
now.
charge is, yeah, that's what they've been charging.
Yeah, it costs $45 a day to be in jail at Powell County. And I think also Shannon County. I don't think they're cheaper. Do you know?
When you
No.
send them
I
to
think it's all
jail, really
$45.
sock that fine to them, Deidre.
We have a substation.
We're capped on that too.
What's that?
We have a substation up here.
Mm-hmm.
What does Howe County pay us for the substation?
Nothing.
I mean, I'm not wanting to get rid of it, but they're paying us nothing.
Mm-hmm.
What's the benefit other than we have sheriff's department people right here?
Just the citizens right outside of Mountain View that don't have to travel West Plains. They can meet the deputy there, and get their paperwork and do everything there.
Charge them
Well,
I
I
mean,
mean,
Well, I know
the
where you're
thought,
getting
yeah.
at, I know where you're getting at, you
Can
know,
we-
they're charging
I mean,
us,
no,
but we're
we-
not
We want
charging them.
that, we want
Yeah, we
that
do
here,
need
we
that.
really do, but I just thought, you know, maybe
they
if
give us
they
a
would
little
like
break since
meet
we
us
gave them a
halfway or-
substation?
Oh, that's gonna be up to the council.
I mean,
They don't even pay a light bill?
Mm.
Oh, my.
Neither did DOR when they were there.
Well, let's hush.
They paid the
what
phone
they do
bill,
now.
but not the light bill.
We need them here.
Oh, the people for driver's license?
Yeah, when the DOR was actually there, they didn't pay for light bill, they paid for the phone bill, for their own phone.
They're paying for everything now.
Mhm.
isn't it?
So I'm not opposed to anything you guys suggest.
I guess we'll pay a bill.
Wonder if we could negotiate down, I mean, because they do have a
yeah,
substation
kind of give us a
here.
little bit of a, maybe,
But I don't wanna lose that substation either.
make
I
them
mean-
all, maybe say, hey, we'll pay half for y'all.
I'll ask them
I mean, it's
if you
worth a
guys
shot.
wanted to.
Can we legally ask them though, since the Supreme Court separated us
Yeah.
from that bill?
It's not really the police bill, it would really need to be the judge
Yeah.
to ask, it's
Okay.
his department. Cause he's really gonna be the one who has the answers about the money that's
Involved in this.
pulled in and all of that.
But the system, so back whenever Mary was doing it, a lot of it was done by hand. And it started to change over to show me courts when Mary was leaving. So it is understandable that it was lost in translation with the new clerk coming on right when it changed over. So the old clerk didn't have access to what the new clerk had, like immediately, it changed over, so.
That's been a couple ago.
But the money's been collected, it just went somewhere else.
So do we need to
Just the
start?
$2 a day. Something's gotta be done between receipt management and.
It's $2 per ticket, but it's only a certain type of ticket, and I don't recall off the top of my head which ticket it is that it's charged for. $2 every ticket.
Well, I'll make a motion, we have to pay the bill, but we need to do some research on how it comes in and where it goes. Yes,
Let me see, yeah.
we have to pay it.
Okay, so let's take care of the motion to pay the bill
Thanks, Jamie.
first.
Thank you.
Yep.
And then, I guess I'll start with Judge House maybe.
Mhm.
Okay. Do I have a motion to pay the $18,360? Motion by Folker and seconded by
So second.
Waller. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
I,
Okay, the next thing is just information that, to think about, is we got an email, one of the projects that Walmart is working on is rolling out electric vehicle charging stations at all of our stores. Do you think it is possible to work together on getting a cost-based EV charging rate? I know there's going to be some research that really has to go into that, but are we interested at all in doing this?
Sure.
It would be how much it would change our rates though.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to go into it, but yes, I wanted you to know that we've got the request.
I mean, we're interested in it, but is it gonna take, are we gonna be charged peak rates, because,
We'll have to,
right.
I guess, involve the the alliance and
Right.
show me and everything else, but I just wanted to let you know that it's there. Okay, the next is the golf course mower quotes. There's 3 quotes here, and the top one with the check mark on it is the one that Ernie
Toro.
chose.
What, one with the what mark on it?
The check mark. First one,
Oh, okay.
the lowest one.
I think he needs 2.
You can only have one.
No, still, it's broke down out there.
Well, with a
brand new one. The quotes are, this is gonna really mean a lot. This is a gas zero-turn mower, $7,099.99 from Tractor Supply. And I guess these aren't the same mowers, but
Skags, this is Skag.
there's a Skag Power Equipment for $87.99. And Hirsch for 2025 Bad Boy Maverick Kawasaki is $72.79.
Can I ask you why you want the Toro?
Well, for one, we got a lot of Toro equipment, and we got a guy easy to get parts from, instead of having to go to these other places and wait a week to get a part.
Okay.
Usually have one the next day or the day after. And plus, the Toro has a bigger motor, a better motor, and my opinion is better all the way around.
Can I ask what lost all this flood down Cart Path 9 today?
Ground cover mower, low hydraulic load. One that's about 25 years old.
Is that the one that stops? They always.
No, that's the one about 3 years ago, the Spartan is one, it's always had some kind of electrical issue with it. It's been back to the place where we bought it from like 5 different times. They've been fixed every time, and about a week later it does it again. So, once we start in the morning, you just don't shut it off till it's quitting time.
Well, you hear it die, and
Yeah.
then they have to sit there about 5 or 10 minutes, and then
Yeah.
start it back up.
It's got too much electrical stuff on it. You gotta have a code to run it and all kinds of stupid stuff.
Well, I make a motion that we get him the Toro.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second, all in favor? Oh, any discussion further? Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Did you get 4 out of that? Okay.
No, I abstain.
Third, oh, we need that one.
Oh, Jennifer.
I had one other question about the golf course, if we could, while I'm here.
Yes.
The employee memberships, how do we need to do those?
That's gonna be in the personnel session.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we'll get you that answer.
While you're there, Ernie,
Yeah.
thank you.
You're welcome.
That was very quick. I remember last year it was asked,
Yeah,
I don't even know if we ever got an answer, but that was very quick.
yeah,
I say thank you.
yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, the next is a low water crossing needed on Buddy Lane, and we have 2 quotes for basically concrete work. One is quoting 30-30 low water bridge, 6 inches thick for $9,800. And the other one is a 26 by 55, 8 inches thick for $17,182.
Was there not culverts that used to be there?
There was a culvert and they had to build a road around that culvert, is that correct?
No.
No?
There was just a dip in the road, and then it flooded. And so they decided to put 3 culverts in, because there's a sewer line that goes right under that road, or comes on the, what would be the northwest corner of there. So they couldn't put one big one in there and dig down because it'd be on that sewer line. So they had to put 3. And they worked fine as long as you maintained them and kept the brush out of them and all of that. But if you put a low water bridge, you're gonna still, because all the debris comes out of that park up there.
Waterway.
Yes, so it's gonna
Another
be,
thing that shouldn't have been in the waterway.
Well, do we still have the culverts?
as far as I know, that down there at the maintenance shed, they pulled them out. And they was $2,000-3,000 a piece.
Okay, so the culverts worked,
But weren't maintained.
but wasn't
They weren't
maintained as
maintained.
far as keeping cleaned out and stuff
When
like
when
that?
it rained, they would go over there, the two street guys, and they would take the backhoe and pick the brush and stuff out of it and put it in the dump truck, haul it off, and then it was fine.
So have, those have been removed.
They've been, yes, removed. And when they first removed it, you could not go over that road because they dropped it off so sharp. And now if you go in and look at it from the water running by, you can see that sewer line, and it freezes this winter being exposed
Should
like
this
this.
be added to the list that we need to address with the street supervisor?
So
Well,
I'm
my
making,
question would be, is if you did pour concrete and there is a sewer line there, wouldn't you have to, if the sewer line messed
the
up, wouldn't
bad
you
part
have to?
about it, the people's having trouble getting out of there when it rained because it was low. Well, if you're gonna put a little water bridge in, people still can't come out
Yeah,
of there
'cause it'll be
when it's
flooded.
raining and go to work.
Let's table it or.
Well, I
I
don't,
think the colors need to be
I think
put
we
back
need to just
inside.
put the, if we already got the culverts, why would we spend this kind of money on something when we already got
So
culverts
we
and
need
can
to
fix
take
it?
this up with them, right? Table it.
Yes. And we can do that
Right on both sides of the
as
culvert.
consensus.
In other words, the diameter. What size diameter do they put in there? You can always raise it up, but you can't lower it down because of the sewer line that's there. But in other words, if, you can always make a hump instead of going down. You can always make a hump, and that's what size pipe, I wonder, did they put in there?
I think there were 18
Well,
or
that
20.
wasn't nowhere big enough. to
Well,
know
maybe,
that.
I might be way wrong
Yeah,
on that.
okay, but that's
But
not
okay,
big.
even if you made a hump, couldn't you just go ahead and build, you know,
You gotta have
make too
some
much-
way for the water to run.
Right, and then couldn't you just go ahead and level that road on out instead of having that hump where it goes around it?
Kind of yes, kind of no. I mean, the way I looked at it was this, is that if they put 2 foot to 30 inch pipe in there and put 3 of them in a row, leave a space in between them, you're gonna have a low one, you're gonna have a couple of them a little higher, and then you put on top 2 foot.
But
I mean,
Calvin,
that's an
Calvin,
awful
they
lot of water will
worked, they
run
worked
through
as long as they
24,
got
30.
maintained. They worked as long as they got maintained.
Well, that's part of the problem, is sometimes you're gonna get stuff in there that you're not gonna allow it to be maintained, they're doing something else, but, and then the problem will come that at some point, 5 years, 10 years down the road,
Right.
I see the county do it about once a year at least, but, I'm wondering as to what to do. We shouldn't just check in the price of putting larger culverts in and then gravel it in and make a hump. Not a monstrous hump, just a hump.
But if you made them far enough out, you could kind of
Right, you could.
eventually.
Well, that's what I said, just
Not
bring
like
the-
a steep hump, but what he's saying is gradual.
Of course, that one guy's driveway drops off right there, so you couldn't raise it way up high and.
But you could kind of build a road to make it kind of just eventually just angle up.
Well, the poor people can't get out when it's raining hard.
Well, a low water's not gonna do any good, because that's gonna flood just as bad as if
That's
you don't
what I'm
have
saying.
nothing there.
Okay, then, and let this as consensus that this is gonna be addressed with the street supervisor with the other things on the list. And we're
Okay,
gonna,
I'd like to know what size pipes to start with, to
Yeah.
put in.
And we need to see if we do have the old one, and what
Well,
what size they are.
They was down at the maintenance shed, or
Yeah, there's a lot.
there's some out there to dump that's pretty good size too. I don't know where they
So
come
there's some
from.
down
Well, I was told they were at the maintenance, I mean, somebody.
Well,
told
that's what
me.
you told me,
Yeah.
but
There's
there
also
is
some
3
down
out
at
there at the dump, and there's not supposed to be metal out there, it's all supposed to be wood.
So if there is some out there that might be a little bit larger, we wouldn't have to buy
Well, I
any
don't know if
culverts,
they're
we
the
would
same
have
ones.
we'll talk to the street supervisor. Okay. The next one is just to let you know that Mountain View Recycling did receive the award or approved funding, we don't get the money yet, for the $30,000 for the South Central Solid Waste Management District grant. That's a grant that the Supervisors Act had
This is
applied
the
for.
wages.
And this is for the
For the
wages.
wages.
Yeah, you can't hardly read it.
That's great.
But it's $30,000, that's for wages for the people
Oh, I
that
see
work
it now.
in.
I couldn't understand what that was saying. so.
Yeah, it's very, for the recycling. Okay. The next is discussion of our section 6125, the nuisance penalty. And that is why Teresa Halstead is here regarding a yard complaint. If you want to come first and then have Jamie address the law that we have. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay, I live at 513 East 3rd Street. Okay, my neighbor across the street, 514, Jamie, I don't know if it would come out of his pocket or what, but him, my daughter was talking to him, and he dumped the dumpster, and she called and had it hauled off. But everything that me and my daughter almost had it cleaned up until she hauled the dumpster off. Now she's cut off a bunch of brush and left it sit. And when she cleans her yard, when she gets ready to mow, she throws all the toys to the side of the house and mows. And when the wind blows, I get her trash. I've been there since 2010. I'm tired of it. And the cops are pretty good to talk to them. It works for a while, and then it's right back to the same thing. Or the cops will come and pick up my trash and come talk to them. But Jamie, I don't know if he paid for it out of his pocket, but he dumped it at least 6 times for my daughter.
And this is at 514 East 3rd Street.
Yes, ma'am. It's Kim Haven,
And that
Haven
is
that lives there.
included in your packet is the list of nuisance properties, and that is on that list. So, do you have any questions for?
She put everything that wasn't cleaned up that time behind her house. So there's a cooler that fills up with water. It's a mosquito hazard, and I can't stay outside. Scott Stark lives on one side, or owns a house next to me. He mowed it this year, but this guy over here, he bought it from Robert Reniger. That grass needs mowed, and then Kim's got there's 2 little girls that ain't gonna play with all them toys. They come out there hammering. There's a chest that's been there for 4 months in the yard. If the yard looks that bad, I hate to see the house.
Okay, and this is the 514 that you're talking about.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any questions for her? If not, then I want Jamie to address our nuisance policy for the Black community. But thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And when somebody calls into City Hall and has a complaint like her, we've been telling them they have to contact the police department to fill out a complaint. There's nothing that City Hall can do about enforcing this nuisance law.
Right.
And I know that you have called the police department.
Numerous times.
Yeah, okay. So now,
Yes, so when we get a complaint in, we send an officer over there. They go and initially try to talk to the person. If they're willing to talk, we say, clean it up, when can you have it cleaned up? They'll say X amount of days, we go on, we give them X amount of days. If not, they get a written warning, which is what Stetson does and Kylie does. I mean, we all do it. And they have 7 days to clean it up, and then they get a ticket after that. So once that ticket is issued, they go to court. But that court date is a month out. So they have a month out to still get it cleaned. And, you know, I can't tell the judge how to rule, but the judge will rule how he sees fit. Sometimes he'll say, is it clean? And we say, yes, it's now cleaned, and it's dropped. I don't know if he makes the pickup fees or
To my
not.
notion, she's never been to court.
I don't know either, too, off the top of my head. Unless I get subpoenaed to it, I don't know.
Kim has definitely been to court for.
Okay,
She has
Fairly
one
recent.
pending trial.
I was gonna say very recently, I think maybe last month.
Isn't that property owned by her mom though?
Yes.
So wouldn't that be the one
She's
that?
trying to sell it, but she don't wanna leave Kim homeless, but she lives in Jeff City.
Well, yeah, I know that, but I'm just stating that
So we have multiple ordinances on this. This 6-125 is not the only one that addresses this situation, but each one of them is a different type of ordinance with a different remedy. In 2006, when Bud Vines was the mayor, he combined 6-125 and 6-130 into one ordinance. Now, my book still has them separated, but I know they were combined because it says in the ordinance, or it says in the minutes of the council meeting. So, but there's another ordinance, and I didn't bring it with me because I just forgot. But it's in the 60s, I believe, or chapter 60, something like that. But it gives a different remedy for any type of grass, and it says that it's the caretaker of the property's responsibility to take care of the property, meaning the renter or the person that owns it. So if there's nobody living in it, it's the owner, but somebody renting it, it's their responsibility.
So it's whoever's residing in it
Yes.
that would be responsible.
Mhm.
Well, and honestly, we go back and forth on that depending on who we think we're going to get the best result
Right.
from. Most of the time, we start with whoever's actually living there because that's the person who can actually go do it. But I know that there have been some where we finally just said, you know what, take it to the landlord, they need to get their tenant figured out.
And we do that. And
Yeah.
it's because we have two different ordinances. I wish they were combined.
Well, is that something that needs to be done?
Yeah.
probably be helpful.
Mhm.
Can you get us the numbers and that way we can work on that?
Yes. But yes, so my understanding is she has an action report right now over that for a prior violation. So that will be held up in, I assume, court in June.
Yes.
June.
I think she's.
So if she doesn't start abiding by that, can you go after the owner of the property if she
Mhm.
doesn't start doing it?
Yeah, my understanding is they're trying to sell it right now.
She has been for a while, from my
Okay.
understanding too, but it just, I can see her mom doing something about it before the.
And I think that's who's cutting the limbs and stuff.
Is it his mom?
Mhm.
Well, Kim was doing it, I was watching her. She had like a drill with a saw on the end of it. She cut them off and left it where it's at. There's two
I
piles.
was just sitting there. Well, we got brush cleanup soon too, so maybe she
Yeah.
was thinking that, but
I hope.
yeah. The rest of it's a different story.
Thank you.
Just a minute, Jamie, there's another nuisance that maybe you can help us with.
Okay.
On Jake breaking in town,
Mhm.
what do we have to go through to get to noise ordinance enforced?
I'm pretty sure there is.
There is one.
There is an ordinance. We
I know,
gotta
but
have
what do we have
signs.
to do to get the signs?
Yeah, we have to get signs ordered. So whoever the street department supervisor is, that's still Dave, right? He would have to get with MoDOT. And MoDOT, and they would get together and they would set locations to put the signs. The city would have to buy them. Last time it was discussed was if it's, once they place it, if something happens to it, MoDOT, I think, may replace it then on their own dime. I don't know for sure.
You're talking they would have to be placed on Highway 60 and Highway 17.
Yes, so when that ordinance was passed, that was actually in the minutes that once it was passed, it was to make sure that the, noise ordinance and force signs were placed at all points entrance to the city on the
In other words,
highways.
it has to be like where the city limits. are.
2017.
That's why I was wondering why, we have to purchase one to put out here on
Mhm.
Pine Street.
My understanding is they, at one point they did, but they didn't put the wording that the council requested. And MoDOT said, since Jake breaks are a safety precaution, you can't say you can't use your Jake brakes, but we could say that you have to muffle that with a muffler, it'd be quiet. So if it's loud, then it's a violation.
I think it has to say noise ordinance enforced.
Yes.
And then the ordinance number
Yes.
underneath of it.
Yes.
So could
We
we,
already have those, we don't have those.
We have some that don't, that say something different.
oh,
And MoDOT took them down.
Jake breaking.
They cannot say Jake break.
No.
I've got one, hold on, let me.
We do have a section 2351 that states which streets that with trailers are permitted on.
So there's one that just says noise ordinance enforced.
Right.
You should not be.
And that's not,
There's no ordinance posted on
No
it, no
number.
numbers, no nothing, it just says noise
So
ordinance.
how many would we, actual signs do we have? How
So-
many points
We've
of
got 6.
city limit
Yeah.
interest do we have?
Both sides, both sides city limits, both sides of city limits, but probably before 17 or in towards town, closer to Chance Fitness, because that's outside city limits there. Even though there's a sign that says city limits, that's outside. Then, West 17, or West 60, East 60, W,
South
Y.
17.
So we need about 7 of them.
6,
Yeah.
7?
Mhm.
We didn't count WW.
Okay, and MoDOT would be the ones to,
Yes,
Yeah.
MoDOT, either MoDOT will be placing them, or we will be placing them with MoDOT, one of the two.
even though
So
there
we
are
need to,
signs.
we need
Yeah.
to have
We need
Dave
to order
to find out how much they cost,
Yeah.
so we can approve purchasing them.
Missouri Vocational Services makes signs for MoDOT, I believe, and it's the President Licking, they make signs, so, and it's actually at a cheaper rate. So,
Thanks.
now we're to the senior center fundraiser request. Okay. We're back to that issue of the not-for-profit entity and the city entity. And there's really no problem with them having the yard sale, garage sale. But it's how the funds are handled. Can you address this once more?
So like we kind of talked about before, as it is right now, the senior center is operating as both a not-for-profit entity and a city entity. It cannot be both. There is a board at the senior center that considers itself the board of that not-for-profit, but it does not have its own separate designation. So that board is wanting to have, I believe, a yard sale and a cookout to raise money. The issue is that they are not independent, that they are still raising money on behalf of a city entity because they are not a separately formed board with its own separate designation. So they can't just hold fundraisers because it's not their money, it's city money. It's not a senior center board fundraiser, it is a city fundraiser. So anything that they are going to want to do for that, you all are technically going to have to approve. You're going to have to approve the type of fundraising that they're doing. You're also going to have to approve the distribution of those funds because it's not senior center board money, it is city money. So I think probably this has been going on for a very long time, where they have basically, as a city entity, been bringing money in that never went through the board, never got cleared by the council in any way, and then just got put back into whatever they felt the senior center needed, which is nice, but that's not how city money works. So if they're wanting to hold fundraisers, you all are going to have to approve that, and then you are also going to have to approve where that funding goes once it's raised.
So if we allow them to do this and keep doing what they're doing, can we just give them the money back to spend it as they see necessary on the senior center, so we're not actually changing
anything?
So at some point, we're going to have to create or that board is going to have to create its own entity. We can't keep being both.
Who's on the board? Does anybody know?
There were a lot of them that were here this evening, but I think they left. I know that Imogene Corman, I think, is the secretary. Lena Vines
Yes,
is
in
maybe
the
the
report,
president.
it says in that,
The board minutes are in here.
Yeah, there are several of them. Most of them are people that
with the,
I'm very familiar with.
all of our department reports,
Oh,
they have this.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think they're very open to becoming their own board. We had actually started that process back with John, and then a bunch of stuff started happening with the city, and I quit getting any information back from the city, and it just kind of fell by the wayside. So it's not an overly difficult process, it just has to be done. But as it is right now, they are not split out, and so you all are going to have to approve and then reallocate those funds. But yes, if you say, you know, we're fine with you having a garage sale, or we're fine with you charging this amount, great, and then you want to essentially give them back those funds, just into their budget, that's fine. But it will be city funds back into the senior center budget, not city funds being given to the board to do what they want to do with. And I'm not sure what they're wanting to do with it. I think it says in there, though.
To raise money for Mother's Day?
Oh, they did already do that.
Things like that.
Yeah, they bought flowers, and they do a lot, that board does, you know.
They
have
do
fish
yes.
fry and,
Yes,
and
they do a
car
ton.
shows.
Yeah, I mean, we'd almost be better off if they were the senior center and it wasn't a city entity.
So how would we go about?
So the last time we looked into it, because we were also looking at that when we were looking at splitting them out, and I think the issue is employees, where I think probably that board could keep kind of the extra things going. I think they could still qualify for the grants with senior age to get the reduced food and stuff like that, but they would not have enough consistent money to pay for the employees, and they definitely wouldn't have enough consistent money to pay for the employees plus the benefits that the employees currently get from the city.
They talked to me today down there, and they're willing to change their name and do their own.
Yeah, they
you
seemed
know,
very willing whenever
because
we first
They buy
started.
refrigerators, they raise.
Oh, I know, it just has never been done.
So
I
all
mean,
it
that's
is just like a change of name, and that would,
No, they would have to be re-registered with the Secretary of State, but that's, you know, that's stuff that my office does all the time. Like I said, we got about halfway through the process before, and then I just needed some information from the city that I never got, and then it just sort of
but that
fell
would
off.
still keep them as city employees, but their board would be
No, no.
separate?
The board is what we're worried about. We're not worried about the center. The board is the one that does all the fundraising, but they really can't because they are,
Benefiting from the city?
yes.
So that needs to be,
The
They're using the
revenue
city
that comes
name.
into the city from them are the meal donations on a daily basis and
Yeah.
that senior age grant. That comes directly to the city, but all the other money is funneled through that board.
Right, and since it's technically a city entity, any city entity doing anything with money is supposed to be approved by you all and then funneled through the city's books and allocated by the council how you see fit.
How does the library, the Friends of the Library handle all their,
They are a separate not-for-profit board, so that's
Okay.
basically what we would
That's
be
what they
creating
need to
for
be
the
doing
senior
down
center,
there.
yes. And so the not-for-profit board that is the Friends of the Library can raise all of their own funds, and then they can choose to donate to the library as they wish. So they can buy books and then donate them specifically to the library. They can get a list from the librarian about we need X, Y, Z, and then donate back those items or specific amounts of monies earmarked for that purpose. And that is all totally fine because they are a separate entity raising that money and then donating it to the city for a specific purpose.
because I know they bought refrigerators down there
Yes.
from, you know, freezers over the years.
Yeah.
And
But since they're not a
They
separate
paid, so-
entity, they should be putting all that money back into the city, and then the city's saying, okay, we're going to use this for this thing. But that's just not ever been.
so now they need to be separated like the Friends of the Library.
Right.
Do you still have the paperwork started, or did you?
I will have the beginning paperwork somewhere, whatever we started with the Secretary of State, we'll have to start over again. It doesn't, hang out that long. It's been a couple of years now. But I think I still have the stuff about what they want their name to be and all of that, and I can talk to them again and make sure that that's what they still want, as long as the city is okay going forward with that. That's just something that, either the city has to pay me to do it, or that board has to pay me to do it, or whatever. So it's not something that I was ever comfortable just picking up and doing again after it sort of ended the last time.
So once a month I go to, the Signal out here, and they buy fried chicken and feed to everybody down there. The board pays for it.
So do we authorize,
I think we should contact them as a city to see if that's what they want, and then see if the board will pay for that. That way we're not paying her for her time to contact them to see if they want to do it. If they still want
Are
to
we
do it.
gonna authorize this here yard sale and stuff?
contact the board to see if they will pay to become their own?
Yes. The cruise thing, what is the cruise thing?
I don't know.
I think I've seen it or something.
I think she said like May 19th.
You're pretty quick.
Yeah, a few days.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we authorize them to go ahead and have the fundraiser, but with the understanding that the money has to come to the city.
And
And then we can
give it
react
back.
Yes.
And then we can give it back. Maybe.
You'll also want to make sure that they understand that whenever you say giving it back to them, you mean giving it back to the senior center, not back to
To the board.
the board.
Correct.
Right.
Right.
They will have to stay inside the city
Right.
coffers, basically, but you can transfer it over.
Okay, it would be, well, it'd be like the revenue that comes in from the dinners goes into the line item, so. Approve event fundraiser with funds deposit city revenue. Fund 10, that's the senior citizens fund. Okay, so I need a motion to approve the event fundraiser with the funds being deposited in the city, as city revenue in Fund 10.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second
Any discussion further? All approved, please say aye.
it. Right?
Right.
Okay. I will contact her about that. Okay. The next is just an announcement, the Consumer Confidence Report, the 2024 Annual Water Quality Report, which is the CCR, the Consumer Confidence Report. It was published in the newspaper, it is posted at City Hall. And anyone that the web address will be printed on the next water bill with the phone numbers on there, with the notation for a paper copy to call. If anybody wants to get a copy of it from City Hall, let us know. Okay, the next one is Bill 1433. This is part of the MoDOT airport rehabilitation. It's the same project, but a second phase. We're in the pavement rehabilitation part now. This is the runway rehabilitation, and the reason for this request right now is because of the 2022 and 2023 funds that we would be losing if we did not request those to come down. It'll be 20, at least 26 or 27 even, before we would ever get into this project. But we do need, MoDOT has given this letter of authorization to negotiate a consultant agreement, which Banesh is the engineer on this from the previous, when the first grants came down, first project. So this resolution is just authorizing me to sign an agreement for the design phase of this runway rehabilitation. And again, it's so we don't lose this 22 and 23 fund.
So what does it say when this authorization is only for design and no guarantee? A local match of 5% will be required for all funding for this portion of the project.
Okay.
So is that just a portion of the
That would be
design?
5% of the total of the two that they're using for this, because there's an estimated amount, is $218,650. So 5% of that would be $10,000, $10,932.50.
And that's just for the design?
That's just for the design.
And that's not including the runway part that you're, this one here, that's just for this here?
No, that's what this is for, is just for the design project.
Of the runway?
Yes. The construction would be another thing to request. This is just for the engineer's design.
And then we have a grant for how much for this year? Or no, 24? Would it be 24?
Yes, and it's roughly been right at $150,000 each year from 2019 forward.
And this project is a $2.5 million project. So that grant would go to pay that each year? Because initially, when I wasn't on the board then, but it was like $2.5 million for the.
I would have to go back and look at that. I don't know what that figure is.
Yeah, it was something like that.
Yeah, because I think
For the total-
I've asked
total
twice, because there was two different things on it. It was 5% or up to 10% matching. And I had asked what we would have to match on that 2.5 million, because that's.
Well, that depends on, because some of this is 100%. There's not even a 5%, but it's.
This is 5%.
So is the grant covering this or we covering this?
We have to cover 5.
The local match would be 5%.
And then what is the please also provide an updated estimate at approximately the 30%, not design level.
If I understand this right, that is something that we would get from the engineers and have to come through us to send to MoDOT at their point of 30% completion of their design project.
And that would be an estimated cost total. at
Correct,
30%.
correct. See, this project was included in your request for qualification when selecting Banesh as your consultant, and the selection is within the 5-year allowable period. That was done previously. Back when that airport grant started, and I don't remember the date that it started, but it would have had to have been in 19 at least. Because we just used up the 19 and 20. And the obstacles that they're talking about, there's.
And this comes out of the restricted street fund?
No, this is MoDOT FAA.
The 5% that we have to match comes out of the restricted street fund?
No, it couldn't come out of the street fund. It would just have to come out of general fund.
Why would that not come out of the restricted if airport is considered part of the transportation tax?
I don't think it is.
Airport's not
Yeah.
considered.
I don't.
No, transportation tax
Street
is
and highway,
it's,
because that's why MoDOT FAA is separate.
but you can use money out of your transportation tax, which is a restricted fund for your streets, of course, all the wages and everything, and the airport and city buses and city taxis. it's in there. Something in City Hall. So,
Do we need to get more information, or can she go ahead and present this?
How long are they giving us to respond to this?
Well, we've already asked for the funds to come down. I don't,
We really can't afford to lose this because then.
know, I mean, and that's what
we
this
get
does.
$150,000
It-
out of MoDOT every year.
Yeah.
If we keep up on this, it is kind of.
It's
We've
gonna
already
take all of
passed
it though
the,
if we have a
the ordinance
$2.5
to,
million thing to pay.
the ordinance for the whole project was approved back in February, but, and again, this is only for us to engage the, Banesh, because Banesh has already been selected as the consultant. So this would be to authorize signing a consultant agreement for the design project. And again, this is nothing that's going to happen right away. She wouldn't even start on the design until we gave her a notice to proceed.
I'll make a motion. Because we can't lose it, I'm not.
You have to do a reading first. You have to read it.
She has to read it, yes.
Yes,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
for you.
Go ahead.
I'll read it. I thought she did, we just didn't do it.
Bill number 1433, Resolution 25513-3. A resolution authorizing the mayor of the city of Mountain View, Missouri to sign a consultation agreement for runway rehabilitation design with Missouri Department of Transportation for the Mountain View Municipal Airport. Whereas the city of Mountain View has a municipal airport in need of maintenance and improvement, and whereas there are infrastructure, investment, and Jobs Act funds which could be apportioned to the maintenance and improvement of the municipal airport, and whereas the city council believes it would be in the best interest of the city to enter into a consultant agreement for runway rehabilitation for the municipal airport. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of Mountain View, Missouri as follows. Section 1, that Mayor Sherry McCann is directed to sign and enter into a consultant agreement for the runway rehabilitation design project. Section 2, this resolution shall be in full force and effect as of the date of its passage.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve bill number 1433?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion or questions? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay. Reminder, city brush pickup is May 19th through the 23rd. And regular trash days scheduled. And I included in the package the minutes from the planning and zoning reorganizational meeting. And they will be meeting again on May 15th. And then after May, it'll be the fourth Monday of each month. Okay, I would like to take a break. I guess we need the motion to go into closed session first, and then we'll take a break on the way.
Okay. I'll make that motion.
Second. Motion and a second for go into closed session, and we need a roll call vote.
Coulter,
Aye.
McAdams, Perry, Wallander.
For closed sessions, we have a break on the